So today we are going to be looking at an Apex draft review. I'm joined right now by Hunter McClendon just entered the call. It says he's muted. It does say you're muted, Hunter, but we have Commissioner Kern himself here, and as always, Lippy is joining us.
Beer?
Gentlemen, how it has been. We drafted on the 18th? It is now the 29th. How are we feeling about our teams?
I'm gonna be honest. We drafted very early.
Check.
That's a beautiful mic. It sounds phenomenal.
You joined, but I think
great job.
Well, howdy, everybody.
Howdy.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We are joined by Hunter McClendon, father, draft hero.
Wow. Draft champion.
I think of the four people here, we may be four of the happiest people with our teams. I think that's a fair statement.
Very fair.
That's what my pre-week one rankings actually showed. Ayyy NF.
Really
incredible.
Look, I'm actually.
Dude, I don't know if you're at fucking church or fucking country kitchen buffet, but tell those assholes around you shut the fuck up. I can't hear myself think.
That was very rude.
If they could hear me, look, I'm sorry, but I just can't handle the fact.
We're not at the country kitchen buffet. We're at the Casa de Goon.
There's a few. The difference is minuscule, but we accept it.
So
that's a fair point.
Hey,
hey, small council. I want to float an idea by y'all. I know that y'all are unanimously disappointed with the performance in the draft of your fellow small councilman.
That's not true.
Don't spoil the pre-draft week one power rankings, Goon.
That is not
true.
true.
I just want to pitch. I think that the draft champion should replace Bevo in the small council, and I should get all of his voting privileges.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack there. First of all, for those of us listening, Hunter is known to spout lies and falsedoms all the time, and nothing could be further from the truth. We'll get into the team breakdowns in just a moment. Kern, as commissioner, I'm thinking we kind of break this down team by team. Where do you want to start, Kern?
Okay, so I got the draft board. I got our Apex big board pulled up.
Me too. Yeah.
And for some context for those who aren't as familiar, which would surprise me, I think everyone is just number one fans of the Apex construction at this point. But
right.
We do have a keeper situation this year. It's the last year of keepers. So if you look at the board, you see some. You see some strange numbers, like there's a Lippy, $7 Nico Collins with a second round projection, a low prime.
Can you pull up the draft board for us? Can we see that?
Let me share it so you can take a peek here.
Yeah, you see a whole lot of steals, one might say, but that's been the name of the game for our draft for the last few years. Is keepers don't, and Lippy and I have been kind of in agreement where keepers all in all don't really matter because stupid poverty franchises will always poverty franchise, and they'll always make dumb decisions, and they'll always just find a way to gravitate towards shit. But initially, when you look at it, you do see teams find themselves in better spots. So one thing I noticed this year specifically, because so many running backs were kept, the guys who did get some values, I think, were able to make a lot better decisions compared to most other years. So there were guys who kept players for pretty large market value prices, and that made the difference. So Ayyy NF, we can start with whatever. We can start with I'll tell you what, let's fucking slow roll my commissioner pre-draft flawless ranking. Just starting at the top. All right, so I've broken it down just into a couple categories. I have the elite flawless upside and floor. I have a slew of people who are tied for third, who I call decent contenders. I have a group of folks who are in the hunt, and then I have 3 folks who are just dead in the water. Their bodies are already bloated, and there's really not a whole lot to talk about there. But
I mean,
I'll start with the most elite team that I actually came out, and y'all will disagree with me. You might say it's a reach. I think Monstar fucking
oh my god,
blew this draft out of the fucking water. I think
Monstar. He was
Monstar-
on this bullshit all weekend. We could not get seriously. I'm not lying, and he's gonna back it up in just a second. And we were in Birmingham. He would not stop glazing your team, Monstar. Nonstop. Nonstop.
It's so true. I look at it and I mean, sure, does he have a creme de la creme, ridiculously upside quarterback? Probably not, but he's got a quarterback and a really good offense. He's got 2 running backs who had the potential to break fantasy. He's got Blake Corum just nuzzled in his team. He's got Jerome Ford and Nick Chubb. I think Jerome Ford's going to dominate snaps for the first part of the year. His wide receiver core is so strong. The Xavier Worthy pick is so juicy. And the Cooper pick, he's got DJ Moore and Mike Evans. He has Mark Andrews just stuffed in there. Perfect balance of upside, perfect balance of floor. He's got positional advantage all over the place. I think Devon Achane could break fantasy this year. So he's got that correlation with Tua and Achane, just with that offense. I'll let y'all go after it, but that's me looking at it without being biased towards me. I thought that he did the best job.
But honestly, Kern, looking at it, how is his team not just the worst version of Hunter's team at the end of the day? Not to gas up Hunter or anything.
Because Hunter, and I talked to Hunter about this too, Hunter drafted players that have little to no upside at all. He's drafted a whole slew of players.
Kern, you're so damn retarded. Kern, that is the most retarded.
You're essentially just saying that if
idiot tape.
He's drafted players that have a nice floor, but his team will never win a championship the way it's built. He just won't.
Kern,
get out of here. Kern, I'm
You
about
think
to
Alvin Kamara and James Cook
mop
are going to
the
win you
floor
a
with
championship?
Kern, I'm going to beat this shit out of you week 1.
You might. You know what? You might have, Goon, you're going to have a lot of games, you know what, where you score 112 points. And it's going to be a really nice, comfy 112 points. You might not score less than 96 all year, but you will never score 150 points. You just never will. It's never going to happen. This team is boring as fuck.
Wow. So who lacks the upside? Puka Nacua lacks. You're saying Puka Nacua lacks upside. You're saying Deebo Samuel lacks upside.
He does now. He does as of Deebo Samuel lacks upside as of 4 hours ago.
Yeah.
You think James Cook lacks upside?
Yeah, I think James Cook was had a very, very prime breakout last year where he was RB12 with I don't know how many carries he got and how many looks he got, but it's nothing that I particularly catching 45 balls and scoring 6 touchdowns and being RB12, that's fine. I just don't know if he can do that again. I don't know if he can.
So in Curran's world, the narrative is the only benefactor of the departure of some of the offensive weapons in Buffalo.
All of the weapons.
Kincaid. All the sole benefactor is going to be Dalton Kincaid, and he's going to just be mega Chad #1 fantasy player. And no one else in Buffalo is going to.
That would make Kern's pick of Kinchad a lot better. I will say
that I would bet more, Goon. I would bet more money that the majority of the vacated cards go to Kinchad than James Cook. Yes, you are absolutely right.
That's an okay bet. You got to acknowledge it that James Cook is going to have an increase in usage also.
Sure,
maybe not to the degree of Kinchad. But there's the upside that he's going to have an increase in usage and be better than the RB12 where he finished last year.
What's the difference between Cook and Pacheco at the end of the day?
15,000.
Is there that much of a difference?
Way bigger and profiles way better and is on just a better offense overall.
I mean, so let me kind of refocus.
Yeah, he's just way better. You heard it from the man himself. He's just way better.
We're gonna get
he profiles better. Yeah, I mean, we're
gonna get to Hunter's team. Let's kind of refocus.
Let me just say real quick.
Monstar.
Goon, I wasn't trying to dog on your team. Lippy just threw me a fucking layup that I had to just fucking crack over the fence real quick. You're coming up. Your team's coming up, but
So
just
look,
the difference is Devon A-Chain could be RB1. James Cook, I'm sorry, that dude will never be RB1. Alvin Kamara is lucky if he's an RB2 this year. James Conner is now on the threshold where he might be.
So
We
look,
should just put Hunter's team right now.
I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be the wet blanket here, Monstar. And I mean, this obviously means you're gonna beat the shit out of me when you play me. But I think when I looked at Monstar's team, I called it the IR squad. And Curran is absolutely right. Like I'm not as big on it as Curran is. I have it as like a tier 2 team. I don't have exactly the same title breakdowns that Curran does, but Monstar, I've got you as a tier 2 team. I hope that's good enough because Curran's absolutely right. If some of these players hit, like if Vlad McDonkey hits, if Xavier Worthy hits, if Keon Coleman pops, if, Ford continues to command the backfield, or if Nick Chubb comes back and is really healthy, this team has a very, very high ceiling. I also Go ahead.
So what you're saying is if his players become like Hunter's players, his team's going to be very good.
I mean, I think that.
Thank you.
I think
what Hunter players are we trying to get to?
Oh no, we're gonna get to Hunter. We're gonna get to Hunter. We're gonna get to Hunter.
He was wide receiver 18 last year.
We're gonna get to Hunter.
What else is he gonna do? What more upside is he gonna do?
We're gonna get to Hunter.
You don't think Jonathan Brooks has upside?
Jonathan Brooks is on IR and plays for the Panthers. Sure, you have one player on your bench. Everyone else is boring. It's boring.
You don't think Brian Thomas has upside?
Sure. Yes, you have good bench players. Your team's not better than Monstar's. It has way more firepower than yours.
Dude, is your team better than Kern's? Because I think you guys play week 1.
Y'all do play week 1.
Wow.
Now,
I hear your chicken bet?
What? Oh, wow, there should be.
I'll lay down a bet right now. Aaron, what you name the terms of the bet, and I'll accept it blindly.
Blindly? All right. If I win, you have to acknowledge me as your Proximus Curb without fail for all of eternity. And if I lose, then I'll take you and Baby Kringle out to a steak dinner when she's old enough.
Wow.
How about that?
All right, how about this?
That's a great deal.
How about this?
That's a good deal.
If you win, I'll change my team name for the entirety of the season to Proximus Kern's bitch.
That's very nice.
If I win, you have to change your name to Dr. Goon's bitch. The entire season.
Wow, that's a good bet.
That's a good bet, Kern.
Let me sleep on that one for a little bit. Let's
see.
Wow.
Scared.
Ooh, interesting.
Terrified. In shambles.
There are some shambles. So, real quickly, to get back to Monstar's team, I think there's a world where this team, like Kern says, just is crazy. The only thing stopping me from making it the top of the world, and I feel like I'm being mean to Monstar, saying that I don't love it as a tier 1 team. I think it is an above average. I think it's tier 2. I think there's a lot of worlds where this team isn't so great. I think there's a lot of worlds where ETN is actually relieved and doesn't get as much work as he's getting. I think there's a world where Miami has a whole bunch of great options at running back, and HM doesn't get enough opportunities, and maybe his electric, awesome game-breaking plays don't happen as often. I think there's a world where there's 3 options in Chicago and DJ Moore isn't as productive. I think there's a world where Lad McDonkey, that team doesn't pass very much. I think there's a world where Xavier Worthy is super fast and awesome, but maybe the plays don't break his way. Maybe things start a little slow for him. I just think there's a world where this team has so much potential, but it just doesn't quite click. And I think there's injury concerns on top of that. I just think I'm not quite as excited about it as Kern. I'm sorry to be a dick, Monstar, but that's kind of where I am. I think tier 2 is a fine compliment.
Can you pull up the rosters, ANF?
Yeah.
How about this? I want to hear Lippy's opinion on it, but I want to see. How about after I give my ranking, you all tell us where this team ranks in y'all's ranking?
Wow, love that.
Okay, so I mean, I've got Monstars at tier 2. Where do you guys think y'all have them?
What is tier 2?
I mean,
Contender?
yeah, Kurt, what were your titles for the tiers?
All right, I had Elite, which is flawless upside with
Okay.
the related floor, tied for
Elite.
third, contenders, and then in the hunt, and then dead in water. There's four things.
Contender, Hunt, Dead. Okay, so I've got Monstar as a contender. I'm not going to apologize for that. I think that's just fine. So that's where I've got him. Tier 2, contender.
Yeah, the contender's fair.
What about you, Hunter? Where have you got Monstar? Elite, contender, in the hunt, or dead?
I mean, I think it comes down to your IR point. I mean, he's got a chance of half his players ending up on IR. In that case, he's dead.
They're sold on it.
Yeah.
If everyone remains healthy,
The manufacturers,
then he's a contender. And that's if everyone's healthy. So I'm going to do between dead in the water and
So you're going to say in the
contender.
hunt is
I'm
tier
going to
3.
downgrade him.
Okay.
Tier 3. Because of injury concern.
Well, that's very interesting. We've got 1 vote for tier 1, 2 votes for tier 2, and a vote for tier 3.
Wow.
Kurt, who have you got as your next team? We'll just keep going down your list.
Yeah, that's just how I like to draft. I'd say you either aim for the fences or you fucking fall on your face. So
hey,
Monstar, best of luck, buddy. Moving on. So I couldn't keep him off the list for too much longer. Obviously, yours truly, Proximus Curb, comes in second. As
does he?
the last of the elite. There's not much past that. I'm sorry, the door's locked. None of y'all are allowed in. There's 2 elite teams. It's me and Monstar. Monstar, you and I have been enjoying hors d'oeuvres.
That should scare you. That should scare you, Monstar. That should worry you greatly.
We've been enjoying hors d'oeuvres in the lounge all week. It's been great. They say great things about the lounge. Look, I'm gonna keep it short and brief. I wanted to go full upside like Monstar, but those players got too expensive, and so the way I built my squad, I think that I have players that can beat you single-handedly on a given week, and I've got players that will fill holes for the time being while upside players develop, like Fuck Down Brown, Rome, Wicks, fucking all these prime little fucking, snags. I've got like volume plays and Sutton and Deontay Johnson. I've got game breakers like Tyreek Hill and Smith and A-Rich if I need to. I believe in the Kin Chad hype. I mean, y'all can believe in Keon Coleman, who has reports that he's not separating camp. He's a cool social media star. I don't know if he's going to do it this year. I mean, maybe James Cook gets all of the fucking targets from Josh Allen, like betting on. I'm going to bet it's fucking Kin Chad is what I'm going to bet on. And I think that positional advantage with the fucking wins that I get everywhere else. You know what? Kern could not have been happier with his draft this year. I've come out of the draft way worse, and this is the first time I've come out extremely comfortable with a balance of upside and floor. Done with soapbox.
All right. Does anybody want to start, or? I mean,
I'll just ask the same general question I asked last time. How is this not a worse version of ANF's team? I'd rather have Lamar. I'd rather have ANF's running backs. First 2 running backs. I'd rather have ANF's receiving room.
I mean, now, Lippy, I obviously I don't have much to say about that.
I mean, Kern's talking about upside at his wide receiver 3 spot. I mean, he's just hoping his player will be as good as DK Metcalf.
Yeah, I
don't know.
I mean, so this is what I'll say about Kern's team. Just off the bat, I've got it at tier 2 also. So, like, this is not me just flaming the shit out of Kern. I think he's got a good team. I think it is. I think it's a good team. I think Anthony Richardson, as an AFC South fan, he's very scary. I think $8 is a bitchin' price for him. I don't just love Pacheco. I think $20 is pretty nice. I think Ken Walker, I don't really care about that pick at all. Tyreek for 62 is lovely. That was a great pick. That tier of receiver, like I was in on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that tier of receiver went for way cheaper than I thought it was. Tyreek's a great pick there.
ANF. You and I were all over it.
Yeah, Tyreek's a great pick there. I like Devontae Smith. I've always liked Devontae Smith. To be completely honest, I know this is nitpicky. I think 26 might be a little high, but it's like splitting hairs because it's obviously he's not going to go for a lot less than that. I think Curran paid what he had to pay for him, and it's a super solid, awesome wide receiver too. And so this is kind of where I start. I mean, this and Ken Walker is really where I kind of start to not love Curran's team. I'll go ahead and talk about Ken Chad. I think Ken Chad's fine. I really don't know how Buffalo is going to break, and that's kind of why I didn't want anything to do with it. I do think that there is the room, like if we're going to talk about ceiling, the ceiling is Ken Chad could inherit a shit ton of work and could be the tight end one. I think for the tight end money of $19, you really need him to be a top 3 tight end. But I understand like that's a possibility, so maybe he does hit. Maybe he does go crazy. I really think that Curran's going to have a tough time with his flex spot and his wide receiver 3 spot. Not because there can't be production on this team. There certainly can be. But I think there's a lot of question marks. I think, unfortunately, just the way it's going to work, you're going to end up shooting yourself in the foot a lot of the time, leaving points on the bench with a lot of zeros or like goose eggs on the starting roster, where you're going to have difficulty plugging in the right guy on any given week, because I think that's going to be a tough spot to find consistency. Does that mean that Curran has a whole bunch of losers? No. Does it mean I think he's going to struggle with consistency at those positions? Absolutely. I think Fuckdown Brown could be really cool. I think Rome could be really cool. I think, I think fucking Javon Baker, interesting pick. Devin Singletary, probably going to be a really solid running back some weeks. I think the problem is going to be consistency there. Now, some of those players could turn out to be really good and have a lot of really nice weeks. I just think you're going to have a tough time week to week getting it right with consistent production. That's kind of my knock on the team.
I'm holding back my comments. What does everyone else think?
Yeah. In other words, too much upside, too little floor.
That's kind of how I draft usually most of the times, Goon. I mean, yeah. I mean, look, I had Deontay Johnson circled as someone that I knew that based on how everyone was drafting upside players, he'd be someone that got overlooked. I don't see how a Dave Canales wide receiver 1 on a offense with a guy who went first overall last year. If he's going to go up at all, this guy's going to benefit. And I think for the price I paid for him, he's going to be like a weekly low end wide receiver 2. Like I think that's beautiful for a wide receiver 3. I mean, if you think that offense, here's the reality, if you think that Deontay Johnson's going to really eat the shit, then Bryce Young is then the Carolina Panthers are just absolute dog water. And Dave Canales hit 2 home runs back-to-back years on struggling teams that turned it around immediately, and this is just the 3rd year it didn't happen. I think for $4, that's a good price to pay. I think Cortland Sutton was just the same vein. It's if Bo Nix hits, Sean Payton offense, resurgent with a new quarterback, he's going to get all the targets. Now, whether or not they're good targets or bad targets, this goes to my criticism of Goon. Fucking Devontae Adams had 180 targets last year. How well did he do? I mean, do you think that wide receiver room in quarterback situation got much better? You could say it probably got a little better, but I mean, targets are targets in this world, and I'll pay $8 combined for a shit ton of targets to fill in flex appeal with the potential. I would say that I bought it at less than its floor, $4 each. That's beautiful, and so those are going to be them, and Singletary will, for the time being, buoy my boring flex wide receiver 3 spot until, if there's a universe where Fuck Down Brown becomes a, 55, 55-45, 60-40 kind of split running back on a Bengals offense as a lead pass catcher.
Which is very possible.
That's just a beautiful time for Kern, and I don't see. I think that fucking, you look at Seattle with Ryan Grubb, who just came over. They're going to pound the rock with it. And Ken Walker's gotten all kinds of love. He is just, I think he's going to do a beautiful thing in the red zone. And when you have someone like Tyreek Hill who can drop 50 points on you any given week, that's kind of how I wanted to build the squad. I just don't want to be in a position where I have to start zeros again in 3 spots. I've done that for several years. But yes, I understand the concerns. Is it flashy? No. I don't have flashy. I don't have fucking Alvin Kamara in my flex spot. No. I don't have fucking. I don't have Zach Moss in my flex spot. I don't have fucking, I don't know, like some boring guy who has the ceiling of fucking maybe a back end wide receiver too. That's fine, but I've got it built to where I've got game breaking players. I've got guys who will start and get me good volume, and then I've got a floor. I've got a beautiful plethora of bench players where I need like 1 or 2 of them to hit for me to really take over and make some fucking noise. But enough about my team. I don't want to hear any more. Lippy, you have any additional thoughts or criticisms or questions?
No, at the end of the day, it's a tier 2 team. It's a contender. It's not a bad team. It's just when you stack it up against other teams, I don't know how well it stacks up, but we'll see at the end of the day.
So
Yeah, Kern, what I'm hearing is you are a professional certified cope dealer. A certified cope dealer. And it's
Dude,
sad,
you know what I see
sad
when I
to
see
have seen
you?
you falling this far.
Well, you know what, Goon? You're a certified professional fucking clout chaser who looks at last year's stats and says, "Ooh, I remember Alvin Kamara 5 years ago. Let me pay $30 for him on a fucking dying Saints offense. That's smart." I remember Devontae Adams. He sounded really good. Let's see how many targets he got last year. Surely he'll be better this year. Oh, James Conner. Yeah, he was awesome last year. He's not fucking 30 years old now. Like fuck. He never has a season where he's fucking healthy all year. Oh, Zamir White. Yeah, he's not fucking Mike Davis 2.0. And you have fucking Brock Purdy 2 on your team. Why do you have 2 quarterbacks?
all right. Well, we'll get to Hunter's team.
All right, you know what?
I've got Curran at tier 2. Curran's got himself an elite tier. I think Lippy said.
Where do you rank it, Gary?
Lippy said tier 2 contender as well. Hunter, do you have him an elite contender in the hunt or dead in the water? He might.
For Kern's team,
Yeah,
he's a contender.
he's a contender. Okay, so we've got 3 tier 2s, and Curran voting himself tier 1. Curran, who have you got up next?
All right. Goon, you ready? You ready to be fucking happy? As the first team for tied for third DC contenders, I do have the Goon. Because, now to give you some flowers, all the things you said, look, I mean, I love Puka. I was the biggest Puka fan. I had to listen to people thinking that I was fleecing you for trading Deebo Samuel for Puka. Like, all these things. Like, I think Puka's great. I think that dude, Puka's floor is a top 10 wide receiver. He has the potential to have 1,800 yards this year. He's awesome. When I say your team lacks upside, I mean that you look at across the board, there's like, you bought Travis Kelce for $25. And the thing about Travis Kelce is he's older. He's on a team that's going to probably make the Super Bowl just based on just breathing. And you really have to rely on him to. I mean, like, you bought I just don't see how Travis Kelce is the tight end 1 this year, and you paid a very premium price for it. I mean, Alvin Kamara is my least favorite pick of all of this. I think you paid almost $30 for a player that's. I love Alvin Kamara. I'm a Saints fan. I love it. That dude had a game where he got like 15 targets, caught the ball 14 times, and scored like 12 points. It's like that team's going to be so bad this year, and I love the Saints. It's going to be a wild fucking ride. But all the good things, I think you have enough, Goon, where like $40 Deebo Samuel, like, ooh, like, fuck. $40 Deebo Samuel, like, goddamn, you are paying for every efficient catch that dude gets. Like, you're paying for all 5 of his 100-yard games. Like, I'm with you. But you will have those games. And there will be worlds where you face Ayyy NF, you face me, you face Lippy, you face some of these other teams that I consider pretty good. And we have games where our fucking Lowry team, our really high swinging upside picks don't fucking hit, and your high floor team is going to drop like 110 on us, and it's going to be annoying, and you will just steadily sit there. But I mean, unless every team takes a massive step back, I just don't see how the team breaks into the higher plane. I think that you will be contending all year. I think you built a very safe prime floor. Things that can go right for Goon, in my opinion, yes. Jonathan Brooks comes out after his IR slot, and he has this Breece Hall 2.0, and Canales has turned Carolina completely around, and that offense is fucking churning, and he's now the RB1 for like a Canales offense that's reborn, and he's in the fucking postseason, dude, that could do all kinds of shit. Because I love Alvin Kamara as the RB3. I love James Conner not on your team anymore. Like, you can put fucking Jonathan Brooks in there. Like, I think that's great. Like, I love all these things, and I think that, like, Brian Thomas is awesome. He could fucking break out and become the wide receiver 1 for that team. The fact that you made that bet and then made the same bet for Christian Kirk for $8, that's the kind of stuff that limits your upside. It's like you've already filled 2 spots.
Kern. If I may, if Hunter just had the balls and didn't want to feel like he just won every trade by a mile and traded Zamir White with Debo and Christian Kirk and said, "Hey Dustin, how about you give me CD Lamb?" Hunter's team becomes so much scarier. And he would still have Brian Thomas and he'd still have 4 running backs. It's such a no-brainer. I don't know why Hunter hasn't done it yet.
I mean, that trade is dirty, and it helps Dustin.
I don't think
Why would Dustin
makes
say
that-
no to
I don't
them?
think Dustin makes that trade.
They
Also,
what
maybe you
you're
have to
missing,
do
dude.
James Conner instead of
Zamir White.
yeah.
Because the thing about Puka is I love him, but he already hit his threshold. Like, he's got to be better this year, and he could, but like, I just don't look like, unless you have a Deebo Samuel game where he just gets 4 touchdowns, like, you could have it. I look at your team and I don't know a single player just looking at it where someone, like, unless Devontae Adams just is really connected with that fucking asshole with the fucking long hair, like there's just no one here
Apparently,
who's
he's
gonna
not
drop.
happy. Apparently, he wants AOC, not Minshew.
There's just no one there that's gonna drop 40 points.
All right.
On you.
Here's a. So obviously, Kern's got Hunter in the second tier. I've got Hunter in the first tier, and here's why. Every team that plays Hunter has to show up every week. Because here's the thing. This team shows up every week. Like, Jordan Love for $4 is fucking unreal. It's very, very good. Like, I fucking love CJ Stroud. I'm on record saying I think he's the best quarterback in the National Football League. Jordan Love for $4 is a mind-blowingly better fantasy pick. Like, Jordan Love for $4 is unreal. That's so good. James Cook for $35. Sure, maybe he doesn't blow up and become the RB1. I think, just like Kinchad, he is going to get a lot more work, and this team started working when the game went through James Cook. And yeah, maybe he's not going to get all the rushing touchdowns, but this is an absolute fact. Between, from 20 to 20, it is going to go through James Cook. I firmly believe that. I think that's a very good pick. I think $35 is a deal, especially looking at some of these other running back prices. I think James Cook could have gone for more. Kamara is super boring. I think the Saints suck dongo dick. I think Kamara's going to get a lot of fucking bullshit carries and a lot of dump-off passes from Derek Carr, who sucks even worse than the rest of the team. I think Kamara's going to be a super safe option. Puka is fucking lit. He's super fucking lit and is going to produce at a very high level. I do not see that slowing down at all. Vontae Adams, I see as kind of wide receiver 15 to wide receiver 20. It's not going to be flashy, but as Kern says, he gets fucking more goddamn targets that he knows what to do with / can do anything with. There's constant production there. Obviously, $40 for Devo is a little bit spicy, especially now that today we learned Ayyuk re-signed. It would have been a much nicer pick had Ayyuk gone elsewhere. But Devo's going to have weeks where he just goes off. That's kind of a player that I think for Hunter does have explosiveness to where if it's a Devo week, Devo's going to pop the fuck off. I think Kelsey, look, we can say they're going to sleepwalk to the Super Bowl. I don't really understand that point. I really think that Kelsey is going to dominate. I think Kelsey is going to get it done with Mahomes because that's what's going to work for this team. I think Worthy helps Kelsey. I think Rashee Rice not being suspended helps Kelsey. I think Pacheco being good helps Kelsey. I think those players being good opens it up for Kelsey, who is so hard to fucking guard in the middle anyway. He doesn't need that much more help to start with. I think James
Or Kelsey. With Kelsey, could they start resting him at the end and not feature him as much so he's healthy for the end of the year?
I mean,
He's 34 at this point, though, right?
I don't think I don't think he just signed a 2-year extension to sit on the bench. I don't think
I'm,
that's
I'm
what they
not saying
did with-
sit on the bench. I'm saying not be featured at the end of the year when they have the division just locked up the last three and a
First
half
of
what
all,
they did with Gronk.
this is a
What they did
team.
with Gronk all his career at the very end of his career.
This
too.
this is a team that struggled some last year. This is a team that's going to want first seed and an ever increasing competitive AFC that continues to arms race while the NFC jerks itself off. I do not, I think like these weird ideas of them resting Kelsey, like while interesting to think about, have no basis in actual reality right now. And until we have any evidence of that, I think it's really silly. James Conner, super incredibly solid. I do not believe that this is the year of Trey Benson. I think next year is, but I think this year, James Conner kicks ass on a much better, much improved Arizona team. Brian Thomas is fucking awesome. He's super cool. He is rocketing up dynasty boards right now. I believe he's the wide receiver 25, which is crazy. I think he's going to be really good. I think that is a very nice pick by Hunter for $5. Zamir White, very boring, safe. Jonathan Brooks, an investment for later. Again, Christian Kirk, constant production. Palmer, I think, is going to be safe floor line production. And my point is not that Hunter's team is going to pop off for 150. My point is exactly what you said, Kern, is that this motherfucker's scoring 95 every week. And part of how you get to the playoffs is by not having weeks where your team scores fucking 69 points or less. This guy's going to, like, Hunter's team is going to compete. It's going to be a problem to deal with because if your players don't show up, Hunter's going to beat you. And that's the bottom line. You can have all the upside in the world, but if they don't show up on Sunday, this team's going to whoop your ass. I think it's a tier 1 team.
What do you think, Lippy?
I mean, this is a tier 1 team. Hunter's team has the ability, if Hunter had some balls, to be the scariest team no one wants to face ever, and he'd still have crazy depth. Hunter has the chance to have the best team by a long shot, and everyone, like, we're talking Jack
I
Alla
agree.
4 years ago.
It could be even better. It could be even better, but as it is right now, it's still tier 1, is what I'm saying. It's
Yeah,
still tier
I mean,
1.
as an entire team, it's tier 1. I mean, it's very easily.
That's probably what I'm yearning for. It is just like there's too much. It's the things like spending a combined, fucking $13 on Jacksonville's 2 wide receivers. Like it's choices like that where if you would have like cut fucking Brock Purdy, just not drafted Zamir White, and just like paid up more from Kamara to get fucking like a better wide receiver like RB2, or get like one of those, like just get another game breaking wide receiver, it would be really fucking scary. And the thing is he does have the depth to survive injuries, and he does have the depth to be flexible during the year. So Goon, I talk a lot of shit, but you do have a good squad. That's why you are Kern's 3rd team on the ranking list. You're knocking on the door of me and Monstar's VIP room, but you're right there. So, and I'll take it. I'll answer for you. I assume you rank your team as elite. So, is he even there? Is he gone?
No, he's still
I
here.
absolutely rank my team as elite.
There.
It is an elite team. I know that I've won a lot of drafts in my day. Amongst my drafts, this one wins the All-Star game.
You think that this is the best draft you've had?
This is the best draft I've ever had.
Fuck. Well, Goon, I wish you luck, man. And look, yeah, like I totally agree. Like you never want to face plant. This team won't face plant, and I think that's always fun. All right, team 4. Now I have 4 teams in the tied for 3rd. So like my rankings go 1, 2, then there's like a group of 3, then it goes straight to 7. So there's really no order. Goon was a clear breakout separator from this, but so I could go any one of those dudes. I guess I'll go with Lippy first, just because he's here with us. And Lippy, the things I like about your team, I mean, I think that, going into there with a cheap wide receiver, I mean, Nico, he could be a wide receiver 1 just out the gates. I mean, I love Nico Collins. I think he's a
so
prototypical wide receiver 1. Tank Dell's great, but I think that Nico's just built to take on lots of volume in this offense. And we all know how CJ Stroud is. I think he has ability to get lots of good touchdowns and just lots of targets. Drake London, his wide receiver core is a perfect example of like floor and upside. Nico will buoy the boats. Olave will buoy the boats with the just upside to fucking break out in year 3. And Drake London he has the potential to be like a top 5 wide receiver this year if that offense breaks right. It's something that it's a wide receiver room I couldn't have. It's a glorious wide receiver room. And Terry McLaurin for $10, Lippy, I think, is awesome as well. And you correlated that bet with Jaden Daniels. You leaned into that bet. That's a beautiful bet to make because if Jaden becomes Lamar 2.0 and he just breaks fantasy, his wide receiver one's Terry, and if he's passing the ball and throwing 20 touchdowns, it's probably going to him. Your starting running backs are pretty limited to just 2 beefcakes, but you invested like $100 into those beefcakes, and the stat about running backs going to new teams and struggling does kind of scare me with that, but I mean, you've got proven commodities who are on good offenses, so I don't think there's a lot of risk with that. And you buoyed it with, you pretty much leaned into the idea where you have the safest 3 wide receivers to probably create. You buoyed it with Terry. You have 2 really good bets. Bowers for $3 is something I love way more than most of these way more than a lot of these tight ends that were bought because he just has the ability to fucking be used all over the field and he could break fantasy. So that's beautiful. I mean, you have Jared Goff just in case Jaden Daniels comes out and face plants completely, which could happen. Maybe his fucking fragile legs break. And you've got like you've handcuffed Saquon, which is important, and you've got like 3 or 4 prime handcuffs where, injuries happen. We don't wish for them, but if there's something that happens to one of those guys, Lippy's holding a handcuff, and it's just he's primed himself in a position where he's got steel floors in the right spots and a lot of good upside.
I think that
the
Herbert for $1 pick is very nice. It's
That's very interesting. Lippy and Goon were close. They were knocking on me and Monstar's door, so just they were not far off. I do like what y'all did. So that's my thoughts with Lippy.
I think Lippy's team is incredibly good. I think it is a very, very good team. I think the Jaden Daniels and McLaurin stack for $15 is going to go absolutely bananas. I think it is a phenomenally good move by Lippy that is going to pay off in a big way. Now, obviously, the Josh Jacobs pick continues to look better and better and better. The more people that continue to die in Green Bay. That pick is going to age very well as A.J. Dillon is gone for the year now. We do not have an outlook on, who's going to be back up. Like who's even who's the RB4 on this team?
Emmanuel Wilson, sir.
Yeah. So because we have no idea when Lloyd's back. So I mean, all of the thought was like, oh well, they're going to use a committee and it's going to be a platoon. Well, there can't be a platoon if there's no one on the fucking boat. It is Josh Jacobs, the guy who, not last year, but the year before, led the NFL in rushing yards. This guy's going to be great. He's going to get a lot of passing work. He's going to get a lot of rushing work because there's no one else to get any of the work. This receiver core slaps absolute cock. It is bananas good. It is so good. This is just art looking at this. I mean, I cannot say anything other than brav the fucko. This is very, very nice. I don't really care about the tight ends. If you're going to do it, this is a great way to do it. You have Goddard for $2, Bowers for $3. One of them is going to be great for you for punting on the tight end position. Nicely done. You've got Goff for $1. If you have any hesitation about starting Daniels early, you've got Jared fucking Goff for $1. So simple, so easy. You have a string of very solid handcuffs that we already know at this point. There's a certain one in particular that has trade interest. I think Lippy did a phenomenal job. His team is absolutely tier 1 and is a force to be reckoned with.
What do you think, Goon?
He might be contemplating it. He might be just lost in all the goodness he just saw. Lippy, is there anything you want to say about your team?
Well, I think he did well, and I don't know if.
I'm out here muted. Yes, what do you got, Kern?
I was gonna say, as you were drafting, I noticed you spent heavy on those 2 running backs, and suddenly I was looking at your board. I was like, damn, he's got a lot tied into that running back core, and I started thinking damn, it's 2 running backs, two new teams. It's always a stat that it's a very, very, I guess you'd call it like intangible stat of like you can't really tie it to any player, but it's for the stat nerds, we like it because it's something that does show it. It continues to prove a lot of the times that it's not great. And I was like, damn, he leaned in two running backs on second contracts going to new teams. That's never that great. But you built your team from that very well. I think you zagged in a way where maybe, I don't know if I'm guessing it, but you drafted two really expensive running backs. And I saw you bidding on those expensive wide receivers, and I think you would have hamstrung yourself if you would have also gotten like a Garrett Wilson or a CeeDee Lamb on top of that. And I think you pivoted beautifully. And so I think that's where you had success. You leaned into the double hero RB, value wide receivers. You punted tight end, but got one who has a $3 upside. Bowers is beautiful, and Daniels for $5. Yes, I mean, like it was a masterclass pivot to watch, unveil, in my opinion.
All I really remember at the end of the day was the goal was to get a Monra, and just 60 felt like too much. Hindsight probably could have gone more. And then you're sitting there on the board, like you said, though, where you have Barkley and Jacobs, and you see Olave and London just sitting there on the board, and you're like looking at everyone's cash flow, and you're like, well, I have 70. If I really want to just spend 30 on each or 33 on each, it's doable. And just kind of building it around having five guys that are top 2.5 round picks, top 3 round picks. It's a fun way to do it. And if McLaurin becomes something big with Daniels, I mean, that's a scary lineup you have to face each week. So we'll see what happens.
All right, I have got Lippy at tier 1. Curran has
think
got him at tier 2 for contender. Hunter, where have you got Lippy's team? And Lippy, where do you have your own?
I'm definitely going to stick with tier 1 here. Throwing up Hunter up there.
Yeah. Hunter's.
I'm assuming the goon has him right around tier 1 or 2. So we'll just say that.
All right, Curran, who's up next for you?
Let's see. Okay, so we went through. All right, so I got those two. I got Lippy, Goon. In this tier, surprisingly enough, Ayyy NF, we do have you as well. You, for all your faults and all your fuckery, did draft well. I think having the first overall pick, you came out and you did a very smart move. You chose one of probably the highest upside quarterback. I love Lamar. I can't handle Lamar Jackson. I bought him for the most expensive price last year just because of what he's capable of doing. And you came out and you just put a $20 bid out, cold open. The fucking engines weren't even warm yet. We had just sat down with our fucking Topo Chicos. Like, no one was even really ready. And we just saw a $20 quarterback hit the board. And it was a good bet because guess what? Every single person froze. We all froze. Everyone froze and got confused. And they didn't want to bid. And he became the quarterback 1, 2. Let's see. He was the quarterback 3, but I mean, I think for a good price. I think like very good price. I mean, he went for $20. That's a glorious Lamar price any year. Keeping Brees is just. I mean, that $28 Brees is. I mean, I can't really hail on it too much. He's got CMC potential this year. I think that an A-Rod offense will run through him expeditiously. I mean, Amon-Ra, I fucking love. I wanted to get one of CD, Tyreek, Amon-Ra, or Chase. That was my game-breaking wide receiver tier that was on the board. That was like, you need to get one of those guys if you're gonna go for one of these guys without buying like the most expensive running back. And you very nicely jumped into that tier early and got him first, which I think I looked at the very next bid was Tyreek Hill, and I was like, well, fuck. If he goes for 62, I gotta fucking get that. And sure enough, CD goes for 63, and then Garrett Wilson goes for 56, and Jalen Walden goes for 40. That's just how it happens every year. So you were on top of that. I mean, you got fucking. I love DK Metcalf. I had circled. I wanted Devo, DK Metcalf, or Devontae Smith as my wide receiver too. Those were like the 3 ones I really just objectively wanted in my build. Devo was way too expensive. I think I saw how much DK went for, and I kind of backed off. And then I saw Devontae Smith just happened to go for the price he went for, but you got him at a good price. Kyle Pitts, I have a very terrible relationship with, and I can't quit him. So I mean, I think that even for $12, look, I mean, like he broke 1,000 yards as a rookie. He's an offense where if that clicks, he has the potential and the upside to be tight end 1. You've got a slew of wide receivers that have upside. I mean, like, you have JSN who could break out. You have AD Mitchell, who's proven to show out in preseason. I never had a qualm with Keenan Allen. I more so just defend my Rome's case with him. I do think Keenan Allen will, for lots of weeks, at least just catch targets for you, which is beautiful. But that's the thing is you've built like I'm not scared of Ramondre Stevenson. I'm really not scared of Keenan Allen or Calvin Ridley, but you've kind of built your team in a way where Lamar Jackson can break fantasy, Amon-Ra can break fantasy, and Breece Hall can break fantasy. And Kyle Pitts can break fantasy. DK Metcalf can break fantasy. You don't need every player to break fantasy. You just can't get buckshots. And like Calvin Ridley for 17, I fucked with you about it. It's kind of, I think it was a little bit of a heinous buy. It was the one buy where I was kind of like, that's a little expensive, but like he's gonna get targets and he's gonna have games where he scores like 8 points and 9 points, and it won't be flashy, but there will be games where he gets touchdowns, and like there'll be games where I think the Patriots are gonna be just god awful. But he's the same play as it's the exact same play I did with Singletary. I think that New England and the Giants will both be just dog shit offenses, but he's going to get all the volume there. So if they happen to get into the red zone, they'll give 3 carries to him, and he might fall in. So yeah, I mean, I think Tajay Spears has upside. Jaleel has upside. So overall, ANF, it was a solid, well-rounded draft. I think you are firmly in the contender position. Don't make any fucked up trades. Stay the course, and I think that this team has potential. Like this team against Hunter's team, for example. Like, sure, there's going to be weeks where Devontae Adams gets his 75 targets for 15 points, and he might beat Keenan Allen and Calvin Ridley a lot of times. But there's going to be games where Lamar Jackson, like Jordan Love, might have his 20-point, 25-point game. Lamar Jackson can score 50 points by himself just on accident, and then Lamar Jackson can score 50 points a game, and then they pull him in the fourth quarter. Like Breece Hall breaks 100-yard runs on his off day. Like he can, like you have players that can beat Hunter left, right, and center any given week, and that's why I like teams like that. So that's why you're in the. But it's a different build than Hunter's team. I know we all after draft like to see those safe teams, but overall like the team. It's firmly in contender for Proximus Curb.
This feels like a classic current team, honestly, at the end of the day. Having Justin Jefferson with a stud running back and a really good quarterback. I mean, Amon-Ra with Breece and Lamar, that's gonna score 60 to 80 points like over half the weeks, just those 3 alone. And it's gonna be a nice team. You're gonna have a fun time, Alexander. Only questions is if Stevenson and Keenan. But then you still have. I mean, Tajay could be okay. You just need points there. You can't have just gooses and shitty games. But if you get points there, your team's
like medical records.
this is easily a contender.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
I'm obviously
Alexander, before you go in on your team, I've returned. And I just want to say this is one of the other 3 teams I classify as elite along with myself. Or other 2 teams along with myself. This team is elite.
Yeah.
And Lippy, you said it. Between Lamar Jackson, Breece Hall, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's nasty.
I mean,
Andy,
at noon, all of a sudden you could be down
Nasty.
100 points in the first half. All this, just
Exactly.
you're gonna score so many points. You're gonna have a lot of fun, Alexander.
Yeah. So that's the Lamar nomination. Like I was texting Lippy and Hunter after I got that pick to go my way. I'm like, I was fucking full mast because I'm like, all right, we've got a real chance to do something special here. Obviously, Breece for 28 is an exceptional keeper and is a big reason why I was able to do what I did. I know a lot of people are not about the Ridley pick, especially for $17. I'm really, really, really convinced that Will Levis is going to throw a lot of interceptions and he's going to throw a lot of touchdowns. I think that the Titans are going to be a bad team but score a lot of points. I also think Ridley has still got it. I also think that Will Levis is going to love just throwing him the ball over and over and over again. I think that's like I don't really think there's anything that needs to be said about Lamar. I don't think there is anything that needs to be said about Breece Hall or Amon-Ra. I loved getting Ramondre for $10. That was really, I think, what kind of brought it home for me in terms of just he is just going to get all the production and all of the work, and that's steady Eddie. DK for 25 felt lovely. And I think Addison for $1. I think these young guys that I got for nothing that can just plug in and develop as the year goes on. I'm super, super excited about my team. I've got it as a tier 1 squad. I think my team kicks absolute ass, and kind of like Hunter was saying, I really think this is the best team I have ever left a draft with, and I actually don't think it's close. Now, it is on me not to fuck that up, so I'm going to block Monstar's number and not listen to any trades he might have. But I love my team. I've got it at tier 1. I know, Curran, you've got it at tier 2. Hunter's got it at tier 1. I think Lippy's got it at tier 1 or 2.
I mean, yeah. If you gotta pick 4 teams for tier 1, it's probably tier 1. But it's a very good team.
All right, Curran, who have you got next?
All right, so wrapping up tier 2, we went through Lippy, Goon, ANF. We have another shocker for me, and this is just, I thought about it. This is where it gets a little tough. So I'll say I threw him in here because of the people in the hunt, I think he's the most likely to break into the contenders. So let's just to do a clear recap, because here we have a tier break. I've got, Curb and Monstar as just for my selfness, like we're up there at the top. We have Lippy, Goon, and ANF as firm, rock solid contenders. This person I put into this tier, but there's a clear break, and that is going to be Timo, aka the Litmus test. And for me here,
I didn't do it, Timo. I didn't do it.
For me here, it's just I had another thing circled on Kern's big board, and y'all will never see my big boards. I've got notes all over it. I've got lots of things. I was dying to get the Kyler Marvin Harrison Jr. sack. I think it's going to pay dividends. Now, did he pay a lot for it? Yes. He paid for every single fucking bit of it. $46 for Marvin Harrison Jr., $10 less than fucking Jefferson. Like, that's like, that's like you could say a lot of different ways. That's $14 less than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Look, he is paying for every single bit of it, but
he gets all of
just
it.
Me personally, I think I just don't know how it busts. He's the prince who was promised the best wide receiver prospect in years. He's got such in Kyler, his game average rushing, he was the quarterback I wanted, but he did pay every price for it. Cooper Kupp, 28. It's a little expensive for that upside, but I mean, there's been raves about him bouncing back in camp. I mean, he might have a very high touchdown season with just his connection for being in the red zone. Rashee Rice, boys, I don't think he's getting suspended, and he low key could be the wide receiver 1 for Kansas City for $13. Like, fuck my ass, He's got Laporta, who we know is the tight end 1. He didn't pay for the ceiling of that. He got $11 Laporta for the keeper. So, Jaden Reed, I don't know what to feel about the Green Bay wide receiver room, but he got him for $9. Like, who fucking cares, And then he's got his running backs. Look, I mean, he paid for every dollar. Joe Mixon, he just paid the price that it costs for all these players. Like, what I would put as that's what they should go for. But he paid for them. He did. I don't think he overpaid or underpaid for any one of his players, and he's got enough running back depth with Mixon, Jones, Javonte Williams, Brian Robinson, Jalen Wright's upside. I just got a feeling that if Devon A-Chain doesn't hit, I don't think it's gonna be Mostert. I think it's gonna be this motherfucker, and just fucking see you later, So I mean, it's on there where I think I just do not like. I think Aaron Jones is gonna be one of those examples where he goes to another team and just doesn't do much. I think that Ty Chandler might just be better than him. I don't know, though. He did show at the end of last year. You might be able to speak more to Aaron Jones' lore than me, Lippy, just having to watch him. Joe Mixon has his upside, but he's got enough going on where if things break right for him, I just feel like he has the potential to really make some noise. But he's clearly behind everyone else that I mentioned before, so that's why I have him. I put him in the tide. I put him in contenders because I wanted to have a separate, because I think he's clearly separated from everyone else. And I didn't want to make his own tier, but he's at the end of the contender tier for me.
at the end of the day, it's a nice team. It really is a nice team, but it's like you said with Aaron Jones, kind of like your hesitation with Ramondre. It's kind of the same situation if Ramondre was 3 years older. The Vikings are going to be awful this year. They're not. They're not going to be good. Bottom team in the division. They'll be lucky to win 6 games. So like, it's going to be interesting how his team turns out. Javon, they're all nice picks. They really are. I mean, it's a good team, but just is there the explosion like when you look at Alexander's team? Do you see 3 guys that just are going to end your week right there? And maybe, but then if he runs into Alexander's 3 guys, he doesn't have much after that, and I don't know. So I think I'd go with in the hunt. So litmus test, like you guys like to say.
I'm going to keep my comments to this team very limited. I think by the preference of the team manager. I'm not even using the correct proper nouns. I'm going to say this was the final of my tier 2 as well, Kurt. So I was right there with you.
What do you think, Goon?
He might be doing baby activities.
He's playing with Mr. He's probably playing with Baby Kringle. We'll catch up with him. But yeah, I mean, look, like at the end of the day, he's team 6
Sorry,
for me.
I'm in and out. I have company over here at the house.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Do you have anything to say about Timo's team?
Well, I didn't really listen to that, but I want to backtrack and realize that we passed Lippy's team.
Mm-hmm.
If we could go back to that, Lippy's
Sure.
team is the other of the 3 elites for me.
Yeah, that's what I said as well. That's what I said as well.
Yeah, he's the other of the 3 elites. And I have Kern and T-Less in their own tier just below.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have Timo just below their tier.
Okay, so you've got Timo as a tier 3 team. Okay.
Okay, are we all on the same page that this is the top 6? Or is there someone? I guess at this point, is there a sleeper from 7 to 12 that's like not been?
I think this was very difficult for me because
maybe this will transition into my next rating.
I think there's a team that is very, very close to Timo's that I like quite a bit.
Can I guess who it is?
You should, yeah.
Is it Neil?
I mean, this is going to sound really hateful because Neil is in my division, but it's not. My next team is K. Cole's team.
Absolutely.
And let's just
he is in the next tier. It's him. Yeah. There's 3 in the next tier, so then we move on to in the hunt. And for me, I can't really be nitpicky about this because in the hunt, they're in the hunt. We can actually start with K. Cole because I don't really have a strong lean. Yeah. I honestly listed them out just by the draft order, honestly. So K. Cole is in the next tier.
So let me just start with K. Cole's team. I think this team is very solid, and by saying it's tier 3, it's like going to sound like I don't like this team. That's not what I'm trying to say. You know, he's got players that can perform at a very high level. You know, we don't have to worry about Jamar Chase sitting out the year or whatever the fuck. We're not worried about that anymore. I think Derrick Henry, from a dynasty standpoint, is gonzo. We're not playing dynasty, baby. This is Apex redraft. I think that pick is going to kick a lot of ass. I have a lot of belief in Derrick Henry this year. I think the Mahomes offense, you can say what you want. You can say you could be a Rashee Rice guy. You could be still on the Kelsey train. You could be on the Worthy train. It doesn't matter. All of that is good for the Mahomes trade. I think that pick is going to be really nice.
Kansas City is going to be fucking awesome this year.
And the better Kansas City is means the better Mahomes is. That's the bottom line right there. I do not just love DeAndre Swift, but I think the Bears are going to score a dickload of touchdowns. I think they're going to want to try to protect Caleb. I think that is good for DeAndre Swift. I think he's going to get a lot of good work. I think later Hawkinson could be interesting, but see this is kind of where like the team breaks for me. I think this team is like very, very okay and borderline good, but the way where it kind of falls apart for me is like I think Diggs is great for Houston. I don't know how great Diggs is for Diggs. I think that if I'm wrong in thinking Tank Dell is the receiver to kind of be the second or dare I say first option, that means Diggs, if I'm wrong, that means Diggs is going to be great. So that's just my own personal take. I know a lot of people disagree with me. The majority of people disagree with me. So that means that Diggs is probably going to be super solid. I think Hopkins while injured right now, like I said, I think Levis is going to throw a shitload of touchdowns. He's going to throw a lot of picks, but that's good for fantasy. So I think the bench has a lot to be desired, and I don't really want to break down until like go into why I think each of those picks like I don't just love. But at the end of the day, I think this team is right on the edge of tier 2, and for me, it was like the number 1 team of this tier 3. So, not trying to hate on this team. I think it's got a lot of really solid stuff going on, but it is a tier 3 team.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole Mahomes bet is strong. Kansas City is gonna. I mean, he's got weapons where he can have like a 50 touchdown season. Like he's got the ability to beat the quarterback one. Derrick Henry has the ability to score 20 touchdowns in an offense. People say a lot about Lamar taking his looks, but I think that just like when they get in the 5-yard line, I think they're going to run the ball 4 times with him and just try to punch it.
They're good for each other.
They're good for each other. Yeah, that's not taking
Lamar
away
makes
from
Henry
Lamb.
better. I think they're like it's good for both of them.
An RPO with fucking Lamb Jack and Derrick Henry
It's nasty.
has got to be terrifying
How
to
do
look
you
at.
prep for that? Yeah.
That's gonna be tough. I gotta be honest. DeAndre Swift, I think, is like a souped up Mustang that like you go buy from a drug dealer that's just been covered in plaster and paint, but like it breaks down 5 miles of the road. Like I'm done betting on DeAndre Swift. I'm done betting on DeAndre Swift. I wouldn't be surprised if this was just a full blown committee. He's flashy. He's got a lot of name appeal. I think that was not a great pick, but that's why he is where he is. I agree with the Stephon Diggs take. I think that he's a floor play, but I don't think he's going to break fantasy. Jamar Chase can break fantasy, of course. I think he's got Hawkinson is on PUP, but he backed it up with Cole Kmet, and the problem with Cole Kmet is that offensive coordinator is just not kind to tight ends, and they're running like 2 sides. They're running like 2 tight end sets, and Cole Kmet might not even be rosterable. So it's like he kind of wasted his tight end slot
there. He's
there.
He's going to be blocking a lot. He's going to be doing a lot of blocking.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't have to talk about his bench. Trey Benson's probably is like the best bench player he has. I mean, his backup quarterback.
I mean, I think Brandon Cooks is interesting from a wide receiver 4 perspective. Yeah,
I'm cool with that. Yeah, like I'm alright with that. Josh Downs, I got a hard on for in Dynasty a little bit, but like, there's more to be desired with this. Like Zach Moss, sure. Like so, but that's kind of where he's.
There's solid pieces here.
Yeah, he's firmly in the hunt, and that's for me. This tier is you're in the hunt where if certain things break right, let's say I'm dead wrong about DeAndre Swift. Let's say we're both dead wrong about Diggs. Let's say we're dead wrong about fucking Cole Kmet and fucking Trey Benson takes over as the RB1. K. Cole could find himself just holding his dick and laughing at us, and he could be a contender tomorrow. So that's where he's at.
I agree with that 100%. Anybody have any comments about K. Cole's team?
At the end of the day, Kern's comments about not taking any zeros, in his wide receiver 3 flex spots, K. Cole's got to be praying for that. Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins, I wouldn't want him there. And if you put Cooks there, how much do you trust Cooks every week?
It's risky.
And then at tight end, what is Hawkinson even going to be when he comes back? Who knows? If Moss is in a committee there.
When Hawkinson was healthy last year, he was very, very good. This team wants to use Hawkinson. Is all I'll say. It's
just going to be a bad team, though, at the end of the day. They'll play reasonable defense and lose a lot of games.
Yeah.
Yeah, Minnesota will be bad.
If Moss is in a committee there,
good is all I'm saying.
If Moss is in a committee, that's a disgusting last 3 players of the lineup. Even Diggs too. Problem is, Mahomes, Henry, and Diggs and Chase are going to score a lot of damn points.
They're going to score a fuckload of points.
Mahomes has a lot of damn weapons this year. You have Rasheed, you have Worthy. He added Hollywood when he's healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
With Kelsey and Pacheco, that's like Kern said. Mahomes throwing 50 touchdowns. He's throwing over 40 this year. Mahomes is going to have a really fun year for him. Henry's going to have his 2 touchdown games. Chase is going to go bananas, and all of a sudden you're going to be down 80 points.
Yeah.
Problem is, the rest of his lineup may not score.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very clearly in the hunt.
But he's going to have players you're scared of, and that's part of the game.
Yeah.
Where do you rank him, Lippy?
I guess in the hunt. What's the tier under in the hunt?
Dead in the water.
Okay, he's not dead in the water, so we'll go in the hunt.
All right, Karen. You said you had Neil next. Is that right?
Yeah, Dr. Goon, are you still there? Or he'll hop on. But yeah, we got so in this tier, so K
Yo,
Cole,
I'm here, players. I'm here, players.
where do you rank Neil's team? Or
I
no,
mean, the rest.
where do you rank K
Okay.
Cole's team? I'm sorry.
I put all the rest of the teams in a tier that I call the shit pit, and I haven't actually investigated their teams
Okay. Fair
to,
enough.
to separate the diamonds from the rest of the shit.
Well then you can hear our breakdowns and you can make determinations, but I have K Cole as I'll agree with it actually. Now that I've gone back to it, he's the first tier of in the hunt is what I call it. As
That's
in,
what
like,
I said too. Yeah.
yeah, he has the potential for things to go right and break into contenders because he has a few really scary players. That's kind of what we kind of landed. Neil, I'll say Neil's next because Neil.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's there to say? Dak Prescott was an elite quarterback last year. I think Dallas regresses in an astronomical way this year, but I think that Dak's fantasy value will still remain. I think he's like they've just paid CD. I think that's still going to be there. I think the Ayuk news not going to Pittsburgh is nice. I think that $10 Pickens is going to pay off in dividends. It's going to be, again, it's the same bet you make on fucking any of his other wide receiver ones and mediocre teams. But the problem is, George Pickens is way more talented than Deontay Johnson. George Pickens is way more talented than fucking, probably Lad McConkey right now. Like he's going to be way more talented. Like he has the upside to have those games that we all liked last year. Zay Flowers for $20 is pretty pricey for your boy, but I mean, there's a narrative where he steps up. Jalen Waddle is very pricey for $40, but same time, I mean, there's going to be games where he can bounce back in that offense. There's going to be a lot more volume. Apparently, Miami, they lost a lot of pieces on defense, and they actually were like one of the more efficient teams behind San Fran. And like you saw all the volume the wide receivers and running backs were getting, but they were getting it actually was just highly efficient. So if they get more volume on top of it, everyone on that team is going to do better. And Jonathan Taylor's great. Rashad White for 40 is very expensive. Don't really like that. Again, when you do things like this, like I don't know why you buy $18 McBride and then follow it up with a $5 Ferguson. You've already bought the best tight end. Like that's your bet. Like you should leave the poker table saying that's my bet. Trey McBride's going to break fantasy. I do not need a $5 backup. There's just no reason at all, and that's why he is where he is. $20 Najee, same thing. I was in on the Pittsburgh's running backs. I saw what fucking Arthur Smith did when Jalen Warren got out. You know what he did, boys? Ding, ding, ding. He put Cordell Patterson in all preseason. It's going to be a fucking nightmare. No one's getting bell cow work. It's going to be a nightmare scenario. If Jalen Warren's out, you're going to see Cordell Patterson. It's going to be fucking infuriating. Trey Sermon's a backup. Bucky Urban's a co-handcuff. So he's handcuffed his entire running back core, which is safe, but it's very safe in that he's now lockstep with these running back cores, and he's betting on JT with a rushing quarterback, Rashad White off a super efficient year, and Najee in an offense that I don't trust. So that's his bet. And then his upside players is the entire Buffalo wide receiver core and Jalen Polk. So for those reasons, I mean that's all I can really say. He's got one or two players that can break fantasy for me. I mean, maybe you could say Dak and JT and McBride could break fantasy. I don't know. I mean, it's a good team. He's in the hunt. It's a team that if things break right, if Jalen Waddle breaks out, Flowers breaks out, Pickens breaks out, I'm dead wrong about Najee. Things can go right to where he's contending tomorrow.
At the end of the day, Kern, he could have, and obviously hindsight's 2020. Imagine if he didn't get Zay, Ferguson, and Najee and had that 45 to spend elsewhere. All of a sudden, he could get Olave or London for 30-31. He'd still have $14 left over for his RB3.
It's beautiful. That's
And
great.
you'd be talking about Waddle with one of those guys in Pickens. You'd be like, wow. Taylor and White would be like, bet. Dak, he's been a top 7 quarterback every year he's been healthy. And then McBride being a top 5 tight end, that'd be a disgusting team. But at the end of the day, Neil's still in the hunt because it's a nice team he's got there. It's not bad. It's not dead in the water.
Yeah, I have him as a tier 3 in the hunt team as well. Neil, obviously JT, super solid foundation for your team. I really like Waddle and Flowers, like just as players. I fucking love Zay Flowers. We don't have enough time for me to tell you, Neil, how much I love Zay Flowers, but I swear to God that I do. Curran and Lippy would tell you how much I do. I think for $20, it's a little tough. Not because I don't believe in the talent, but man, if you'd got him for 15, I'd find myself saying I love that pick. And I know that's super nitpicky. It probably sounds really stupid, but that's just one of the way, like visually, for whatever reason, the 2 makes me frown. I think this team is very solid, and kind of what I was talking about with Hunter's team is like you've got to show up to play Neil, because I do think, no offense, Neil, at a lower level than Hunter, this team is going to be pretty consistent in showing up week in, week out. I think
That's exactly what I compared it to. I said it was a Walmart version of Hunter's team, which Neil, it's not a Walmart version of Hunter's team, but like it kind of is. You've got a lot of floor built into here. It just you need some upside to really shine through.
There's a really solid floor, and again, at the end of the day, sometimes floor teams, just the way the schedule breaks, is all you need. But I think this team could be a little bit better, but at the same time, it could be a hell of a lot worse. So, Neil, I've got you at tier 3. You can shut my ass up week 1 with myself calling myself a tier 1 team, but I'm gonna wax that ass, so we don't have to worry about that part. But I've got him at tier 3. It sounds like we all do. Any other comments on Neil's squad?
I guess Goon has him in the fucking shit pit just with everyone
Yeah,
else. But
he's gotta
hopefully,
be-
hopefully Goon,
Neil's
you can
not
listen
gonna
in.
Neil's not gonna be an upset guy having 3 full backfields just short up with their top 2 guys.
Yeah,
He's gonna be in the hunt all year for that exact reason right there.
yeah. He can make some trades and do some noise, but yeah. But next up for me is Cornman, and this is just to put in the just to spoil. This is the cutoff of my tier. So
Me too.
this is the last bit. So there's 3 teams in the hunt. So to recap, we got Proximus Curb and Monstar just up in the VIP lounge. We got
I'm gonna
Timo,
chapter
Lippy.
it too. I'm gonna chapter this one and mark it.
Yep. We got Timo, Lippy, Goon, and A&F just chilling strong, just like sturdy, rock solid. They could break up and just fucking like I think that top 1, 2, 3, 4 is that 6, 5?
5.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that's 6. Curb, Monstar, Timo, Lippy, Goon, A&F. Those are the top 6 that just like I think that any one of them could be champion this year. In the hunt, we got Neil, Cornman, and Keiko. Any order, they've got pieces built to where they can fucking get after it. And breaking down Cornman's team, I mean, when you have CMC, it's like you talk about having the one player who can win you weeks. I mean, did he pay every dollar for it and keep it? He certainly did. He paid every fucking dollar for it. But CMC will have games where he drops fucking 40 points on you, and you're just going to sit there and Austin Eckler will get 5 catches. Yeah, he'll get 5 catches. Justin Jefferson will get fucking 35 targets, and it's really shitty. Justin Jefferson, hot take, might break the record for targets this year. Like, I don't know if he's going to do well with them, but I think Sam Darnold's going to throw the ball at his face or in the 15-yard vicinity every single chance he can.
Yeah, as close to his face as he can.
Yeah, it's going to hit a lot of times. And he might get touchdowns, too. It's going to be like a Julio Jones year, like one of those really frustrating Julio Jones years where you sit there and you go, ooh, he had like 1,800 yards and 195 targets and like
this is going to age really poorly as soon as I say it, but I think Jefferson's a huge bust this year. Not because Jefferson isn't any worse, but just because $55 for what I think you're going to get. And I apologize, Joan. I just think it's going to be a bust pick. I'm not trying to be rude, but that's just how I feel.
No, it's tough. I mean, Michael Pittman for 20 is fine. He got Christian Watson for $2, which is fine.
The Pittman pick's a good deal. That $20
I like
is
that.
nice.
I kind of didn't like it at first, but I mean, like if you think A-Rich is going to pass a lot, and he could
not to shit on Neil, but that's the same amount Zay Flowers went for Michael Pittman.
It is. I do like that a lot more, actually, now I'm thinking about it. But I mean, they're all in the same tier. Kittle has the potential to have Kittle games. I mean, Jerry Jeudy, I think you could probably cut. I mean, I think Tyler Lockett, maybe you could have him. Gabe Davis has a role. I mean, Taysom Hill, sure. I mean, Elijah Mitchell, RIP. Cuba Hubbard is fine, but again, it's that same lesson. Why are you buying a $15 Joe Burrow to handcuff with a $4 Caleb Williams? You just don't have to do that. You've made your bet. You've made your bed. You're betting that Joe Burrow is going to break fantasy. Why limit that bet and hedge with a $4 Caleb Williams? I just don't get it. But that's for me are the reasons for me. But
I'm right there with you, Kurt. I think everything you made was pretty well spot on. At the end of the day, Joe Burrow and CMC, Michael Pittman, and whatever Jefferson does turn out has the potential to win weeks. Like it's like this team is not dog shit bad, but I think it's going to struggle. But you know, Cornman is a champion, and champions find a way. So we'll see.
Does that wrap on that team? Lippy Goon, any thoughts?
It's tough, Kern. He's in that tier of just he has CMC and that's kind of it, so he can win. But at the same time, Burrow, CMC, and J Jettis, they can go off, and he might have zeros for the rest of the lineup.
Yeah.
Kittle, Eckler.
Yeah.
Kittle, Eckler. I mean, Chuba's not going to play the whole year. So you're going to have a committee at RB2, at wide receiver 3, flex, tight end. It's I don't know. The 15 on Kittle and the 15 on Burrow could have been spent a lot better. And like you said, just I'd make the bet for the cheaper QB if I was him. We'll see how it works out for him though. He would be in just tier of his own, CMC tier, but I guess in the hunt if you really had to put it there.
The CMC tier.
Yeah, having CMC just does so much. He's the last of my in the hunt tier. He could have had his own little separate little bucket just because I mean, like when you have the best player in fantasy, it's hard just to write you off completely. But I mean, you know, because what he could also do is he has the capacity just to sell that player for pieces that can do a lot for him, but that might just put him in a very gross, like no upside. He can do some work with it. Who knows, you know? But yeah, it's not,
Right.
you know. Anyway, there's a reason he's here. Y'all want to get down to the nitty gritty?
Y'all want to? Yep. So let me ask this: we've got 3 teams left that none of us have mentioned.
Yes.
Dustin, Jack, and Golly.
Yes.
Now, let me just ask: of these 3, do you have them tied, or do you have one of them as higher than the rest? Because I do have one that I think is the best of the 3 that we've got here at last.
I do. I do have one that's the best of the 3, and
Okay.
for me, it is the G Champ. And
Wow,
the
really?
reason
I have Dustin.
the reason for
I have
me,
Dustin there.
Dustin's close.
I was going to say Jack there. Wow.
So all
Damn,
3 of
so
us
we're
different. Okay. Okay. You know what? You know what could be fun for this last tier? We each have our guy of the last tier. We should just each make our case for our last guy.
Sure,
Start us off with
let's
Golly.
not dump on anyone specifically and say
Yeah.
who's the last. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't y'all go first?
Okay. I mean, I'll start with Dustin. You know, we've made a lot of really, I think, solid points about players that can win you weeks. I do not like Dustin's team, but I do think he's got players that can win him weeks. I really like Kyron. CD Lamb kicks ass. Some people, not me, the fantasy community at large, loves Josh Allen. Raheem Mostert was the RB2 last year. Tank Dell is one of the best receivers in the entire NFL. This team has players that can pop off and win a week. I will say, I think that those 5 players that I mentioned are the only players I really like. So, and I love them. Like, they're incredible. But from Mooney down on the draft board, I hate this roster. But like we were saying, if those 5 players, if Josh Allen, Raheem Mostert, Kyron Williams, CD Lamb, Tank Dell perform, Dustin's gonna win some games and go fucking crazy. Like CD Lamb just got paid a Brinks truck of money coming off of the fucking the Apex Coalition winning season that he just had, where he just went absolutely bananas, hamburger crazy. Josh Allen, I think the Bills are going to fucking blow. No one else does. So Josh Allen is thought to be the QB1 this year. So everyone else thinks that's going to be a great pick. I think Mostert's going to struggle, but if he doesn't, and he's the RB2 again with, 74 touchdowns or however many he got last year, that's going to be great for Dustin. I think Kyron Williams is fucking awesome. Dustin, take good care of him. I hope he kicks ass for you. I think it's going to be kind of scary. I think it's going to be a little scary because I think they might use Blake Corum some. I'm a little bit scared that they're going to do to fucking Kyron what they did to Gurley, and it scares me because Kyron is so cool. He's so awesome. Dustin, he's really fun to own. I hope he kicks ass for you. I think this team has players that everyone is going to look at, and they're going to lose weeks because there's a whole bunch of goose eggs, but the players that don't have goose eggs went absolutely nuclear, and that's why he's my top team of this tier.
That's pretty well said. I'm with it. Yeah, the whole Kyron thing's unfortunate. I'm not going to read too much into coach speak, but like there hasn't been a successful, like I saw stats, like there hasn't been a successful running back who also did punt returns besides Kamara his rookie year. Like I don't think it's entirely going to make a difference, but I think it means that Blake Corum is going to be a lot more involved than his $57 price tag, which is. It's not going to kill him, but it's going to limit that $57 price tag. I think that's where it's going to hurt a little bit, but. Yeah, you kind of broke it down exactly how I would. I think that, he's got players that are really good, but he has to really come back from all this other stuff he's got that, I've been dead wrong about fantasy many years. These guys might all hit, but they're just, for me, not players I would have very high on my board, but.
All right, Lippy, you want to make the case for Bevo?
So, at the end of the day, when I was talking about Jonah's team as the last team in the hunt tier, it was all centered around the Burrow, that top tier Burrow, Jay Jettis, CMC combo. Bevo's got his combo. He's got Wilson, he's got Bijan, he's got Stroud. But after that, Ayuk's not bad, and the rest isn't that bad. The issue is his depth is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen for a Bevo team.
This is not a Bevo team. I don't.
And that's what knocks it down to that bottom tier where I just don't think it's going to be competitive. But at the end of the day, he has those three guys and then add an Ayyuk, he's getting $30 million a year for a reason. He's going to get the ball.
Yeah.
He's not going to be a bad team, so he's the best of the worst. It's just that depth is utterly disgusting. On an RB2 who's in a committee, that's not what you want.
Man,
But Bijan, Stroud, and Wilson with Ayyuk, that's gonna score some points.
I gotta be honest. I'll just go out and say it. I had Bevo as the last of this tier. Just looking at what it is, and he's gonna come on and just fucking. I can hear the hooves fucking just galloping from miles away. Let's be real. If we're putting all these teams in the last tier, the bottom three, there's no look. Me saying you're the last of it, Bevo, does not make me any better than Lippy or Ayyy NF. I'm just saying it is tough. It's tough when you're chasing the David Montgomery season he had for $18, and Garrett Wilson could break fantasy, but it's one of those cases where we haven't we've seen it from a volume perspective, but we're kind of just buying his ceiling this year, hoping that A-Rod is what he was, and I think he is. I think Garrett Wilson's a good pick. It's just so much has to go right for this team, and I gotta be honest. I don't know if y'all see the stats of Watson and fucking Flacco with fucking Njoku in the lineup.
They're terrible with Watson. They're terrible.
I think Njoku was just a waste of money, and Schultz with the new offense was also a waste of money, and he doubled down on two of them, and it's
So I'll say this. I'm not. This is gonna age really poorly. Just go ahead and get ready to clip this. This is the worst team Jack's ever drafted. I think Jack is normally coming out of a draft with a team full of options and depth. This is not that. This is not a Bevo team. I do not know what happened. And I told Lippy this. It's the reason why this didn't work is because of Garrett Wilson for $56. That's why this didn't work. Because Garrett Wilson for $56 is an ass pick. And it tied up so much money in that dumb asshole that it fucked the rest of the draft. Like I said, I kind of like CJ Stroud. I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL. $16 for him in fantasy is tough. It's very, very tough. You can't see Lamar go off the board for 20 and then do CJ Stroud for 16. I fucking love Stroud. I despise Stroud for 16. That sucks.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty bad. I didn't like that.
do not give a fuck what, like Jack's bench, my eyes start to bleed. And look, here's the thing. Jack is an excellent manager, in my estimation. So this is not the end point for Jack, but I'm planting my flag right now that this was my worst team of the draft, and I think Jack will easily find a way to turn it around and carve value out, or I'll just be fucking wrong, but I hate this team, and I don't know how it happened the way it did.
There's just the depth is non-existent, which is just so un-Jack-like. For what? Also, though, just I don't.
Is Goon here?
For Garrett Wilson,
Yeah,
56.
I'm back. I've been waiting for this one. No,
Oh,
I don't
God.
understand how y'all can justify keeping Jack in the small council.
Oh my god.
I think he needs his membership revoked. He needs
Oh,
his membership card burned. And y'all need to fill the spot. Y'all need somebody to replace him. And I think you extend an invite to the one coalition member that has an elite team that's not in the council,
wow.
whoever
Wow.
that might be.
Wow. Hunter, it just so happened that the way it's broken down right now, that it turned out to be you, actually.
It is weird that like it's like you look at his starting lineup and like Stroud, Robinson, Montgomery, Wilson, Ayuk, and Godwin. Like, look, you might be able to make a case for all of that. Like, there's a case for Godwin to bounce. Like, there's narratives for these players, but then it's just the rest of it where like he decided to spend $5 there, $2 there, $2 there, $3 there. Like those were like what when you're spending when you're spending $2 to $5 on players, those are actually, in my estimation, some of the most important picks because you're kind of planting your flag in the pool of like your lottery picks. Like that's where you get the fucking, that's where you get Ayyy NF, the fucking Tajay Spears and the AD Mitchells and the fucking fuck down Browns. And he showed up and was like, look, not only do I need David Njoku, I need fucking Dalton Schultz.
Yeah.
And not only do I need Dalton Schultz,
Hollywood Brown.
I need Jacoby Myers today.
Bad.
Like, fucking
Bad.
like,
I need Hollywood Brown.
It's those moves that make him, and then like with his dollar picks, it's like a rookie Ricky Pearsall to handcuff Ayuk, in like Troy Franklin, like in Rashad Bateman, and I mean, he's gonna come on and look. We all know Bevo well enough now to know that he will not concede this is a bad team. I think we can all agree that he will come on and fight for this team tooth and nail, and I cannot wait to hear his case for it. I've had very bad drafts too. I've had drafts where I walked out with AP as my wide receiver, as my RB2, and guess what? I won that year. So you know what, Bevo? You can easily do it.
That's what I'm saying. This is not over. Like I'm trying to make that very clear. I think Jack is an excellent top tier manager. This is not year over for Jack.
And we look at lots of drafts where we look back and we say, like, I dogged on fucking Jihad's draft last year. I was like, God, it's boring as shit, no upside. And it just so happened that Canales made Mike Evans the fucking second coming of Christ. So what the fuck do I know? But
exactly.
So that's the issue here, though. Godwin, his flex is currently Dalton Schultz. What is the upside for Godwin?
There's not. I was just saying it.
And then he's just
we can't see it right now. We can't.
The depth, if anything happens to anyone, which it already has, and that's why Schultz is in flex. It's like Jonah after Stroud, Bijan, and Wilson. Like maybe you're hoping it's an Ayuk week, but
I do not even think Garrett Wilson is going to produce. Like
that's also betting that Aaron Rodgers doesn't wash.
Like what the fuck are we talking about? What are we talking about with Garrett Wilson at $56? What are we talking about? Like this is ridiculous.
I'm with you, ANF. I'm with you. For $56, when you see Amon-Ra going for $4 more, you see CD going for $7 more.
What the fuck are we doing here? And it's not.
No, you're right.
This is not a Jack thing. This is a what the fuck is the fantasy world doing with Garrett Wilson right there?
That's what happened to ANF. Is you and I and Lippy did it with fucking his running backs. Is we saw the tiers and we're like, look. If we don't get a piece of this fucking pie, we're gonna be buying $50 fucking Jaden Waddles and fucking $60 fucking Garrett Wilson. We don't want that.
But I'm not trying to harp on this, and I'll shut the fuck up in just a moment. But so what? So you missed that top tier. Don't $56 Garrett Wilson it. Like say fuck it and load up on wide receiver twos. Like just say fuck that. And again, it's not just a Jack thing. The world is convinced Garrett Wilson's going to be great. I think there are just as many worlds where he fucking sucks dick. It is the same as last year, and you're disappointed as shit. I hate Garrett Wilson in fantasy right
Oh,
now.
it's a 40-year-old quarterback that we're hoping plays like he did like 3 years ago. Like
Clip the
it's
shit
very
out of
scary.
that. Clip the shit out of that when the Jets kick ass, by the way. But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, you're betting on it, and now it has to happen. And I'm so fucking out. I'm also really sorry. Like
It's hard not to
hate
harp
that
on it
pick.
because it's Bevo. You know, he's like always in contention, and like, you know, he's usually very savvy with finding
The issue is
value out.
the issue is these other two teams though, and let's get to Golly's team. I don't.
Okay.
Where did it? I mean, he's.
Here's my.
I really
Let me get
dislike
my
this team.
soapbox about Jihad real quick. So the reason I like Golly's team is because, and maybe I'm high on these certain players, is just like y'all talked about, you know, Dustin having the big three, Bevo having the big three. Jihad sneakily came in and got the fucking Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown stack with a Q, capital Q, and that is it's enough to really break fantasy. And not only does he have that, but he also has Jahmyr Gibbs, and I know he's got the soft tissue injury, but in this tier that we live in right now, it's enough to break fantasy. Malik Neighbors is in the same situation that, like, you know, lot of these.
It is worth pointing out. It is a $26 Malik Neighbors. I'm just going to point
it is,
out.
but I actually like that price, dude.
It's not a bad pick.
I love Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors, low key, is probably as talented as Marvin Harrison Jr. in a lot of ways, and he is lighting up preseason in camp, and he might get 170 targets. And I think if Daniel Jones takes a little bit of a step forward, and I just think that's a very strong pick. And T. Higgins has the ability to be a top 15 wide receiver just in the Burrow offense, fully healthy. It's a good snag. Evan Ingram, I think, has a lot of vacated targets there. That's fine. It's after that where it gets bad for me. So I see Hurts, Gibbs. I like his three wide receivers, actually, for me, a whole fucking lot. And I don't mind the Evan Ingram pick. For me, Gus Edwards, that's tough. Jameson Williams.
The RB2 is a fucking eyesore.
Yeah. It's really bad. I'm not buying the Jameson Williams at all. Shaheed didn't need to be drafted. Ty Chandler's a good lottery pick. Quentin Johnson can be cut today.
I like
Stafford, you already have Jalen Hurts. I like Ray Davis. Stafford can be cut today.
Pierce should not be rostered.
Pierce can be cut today. If you want to bet that the Dortch has a Dortch year, that's fine.
Dort should not be rostered. Dort should not be rostered.
Yeah. So that for me is honestly, when I was looking at these three last teams, that's the only reason why he stood out, is because I guess just me personally with my rankings.
The stack
I saw Hurts,
with Gibbs.
I saw the stack. I saw Gibbs, and I love Neighbors and T. Higgins to buoy that wide receiver room. And I'm coming around on the Evan Ingram pick. I didn't like him because there's talks about him regressing, but a lot of targets just left Jacksonville. I think Brian Thomas and
who
Kirk
took those targets?
I think they're going to go to Brian Thomas. They're going to go to Kirk, and they're also going to go to.
Who had those targets? It was Calvin Ridley, right? Anyway, keep going.
It was Calvin Ridley with his fucking wide receiver 18 season. He had 170 of those, and he did fuck all of them. Maybe he'll do them with Will Levis. But anyway, not to go back to that. But all I'm saying is that's why I like his team. And I told Jihad to be him. I was like, look, if Ty Chandler hits, like if Ty Chandler is just better than Aaron Jones, wow, what a good time. You know, if that's really it, though. I mean, like, that's really the story. Like, I think he still has holes. He still has holes as flex, but that's not a bad place to be. He could stream his flex if Ty Chandler is just better, and like he can start Gus Edwards getting like RB3 value. Like look, I've slowly come around it. I really harped on him when he was in the draft room, but I'm kind of. If I'm making a lotto ticket bet from like a long shot bet to make the fucking playoffs, I'm throwing like $20 on Jihad with the fucking odds on DraftKings.com. But those are my thoughts.
I think a lot of things have to go right. I think Golly's going to have a lot of really tough weeks, but he was my second team of this tier. I think the stack alone is gonna keep him in games. I think Gibbs is going to be super solid. And I think T. Higgins is going to be solid. I don't give a fuck about Neighbors. I think he's going to take some time. He can be as talented as he wants to be. That team's going to suck dick. And I don't think Daniel Jones takes a step forward. I think he takes 3 steps back and then gets sacked. That's what he's going to do all year. And I think it's going to be really tough. Not because Neighbors is bad, but because Daniel Jones blows, the Giants' offensive line blows, that team sucks. I think it's going to be really hard, but I think Golly's got pieces. I think, that puts him ahead of Jack for me, but I still think Dustin's got a better chance of winning ball games.
So you also have Bevo as the last of the last.
Yeah,
ANF?
for sure.
So
Okay.
I have Dustin as my last of the last, and I'm sorry, Dustin. It really just stems from I don't know. I don't see how the team
Look at the top
makes
5 players, though, is what I'm saying.
But the problem is I don't care.
They don't
And
hold
neither
a
does-
tea
neither-
kettle up to Jihad's 5 players.
If
my
you
last
guys
name.
are talking about, I'm saying, where do I think the team's going to end at the end of the year? And I think this is the worst team in the league. And it
Oh, you
stems
have
from
Dustin as the last one?
it stems from what you guys said about Bevo, that Bevo can easily manage this team into being reasonable. I don't know Dustin cares enough, and I'd love for Dustin to care enough to be able to turn this team into reasonable.
It will take.
And then
It'll take some TLC. It'll take some.
But
TLC.
mix that with his wide receiver 3 is disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, his tight end disgusting. I don't believe in Bluetooth or Russ.
No,
I'd like to.
No.
I mean, if Pollard's okay, I don't know. Relying on
Pollard for
Mostert as your
16.
RB2, it's just I see a lot that can go wrong with the team. Could see Josh Allen just being okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've got them in this last tier.
Yeah, it's tough to nitpick with
you know.
these last 3. It's just, I mean, it kind of comes down to there's 3 teams that have a smorgasbord of random decent players, and I guess whichever ones we're particularly high on compared to
exactly.
the field is kind of where they fall,
Yeah.
I mean, but they're all clearly. I think we can all unanimously say, and Bevo can come back and defend himself, and Jihad and all them. That they're all clearly, in my estimation, just behind the rest. In their own tier.
I mean, I would completely agree.
It is interesting. Who was the best? Who was the best value, like just player wise, on this board? I was trying to think about that.
Jordan Addison
Jordan Addison
for $1.
for a buck. For a buck, I mean, that's easily the best dollar picture is.
It's $1 current for. Jordan
I mean, I would be
Addison.
so ecstatic if I just had Jordan Addison sitting on my bench.
For $1 current.
Yeah, that should be a $5 pick. You're talking about Caleb going for $4 to Jonah. Imagine if Jonah had Jordan Addison plus another $3 to spend.
I mean, I'm with it. Like, look, like, there's a world Jordan Addison's fine. I just think, like, if we're worried about Justin Jefferson and his offense,
we're worried about Jefferson for 55.
Yeah, you're talking about a buck.
He's
for a guy that can give you weekly production.
I would just rather get I would just honestly rather buy a handcuff for $1. Like, I'd rather have like even sticking with ANF's team, like I'd rather have McLaughlin for $1 just on the chance.
Luckily, I got both.
Let's talk like $10 to $29 players. Who's your favorite?
$10 to $29.
I could start with my least favorite, and it's not just I just don't like Kyler for that price.
Yeah, we can go by position. For quarterback, I think that Kyler for 18 is a lot for sure.
I don't like. I mean, you tell me you could have 10 extra bucks in Richardson every day of the week.
I'll say this: Kyler for 18 looks fine to me when I look a few teams down and see Stroud for 16.
Yeah,
especially when you're stacked with Harrison. Like,
I think Kyler's going to outscore Stroud straight up this year. Like, I just think
I don't know if it'll be close, Curran. I don't know if it'll be close.
And Stroud's going to be great, but it's a fantasy. Stroud has
CJ
to throw,
Stroud's going to win the Super Bowl. This is for an Apex championship. It is different.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, it's
I don't know how you can be happy, and I think the momentum's going to swing back to not spending on this middle tier of quarterbacks. But I mean, even 15 for Burrow, when you could spend sub 10 on get Richardson, you could get Love.
That's the real takeaway. It's like fuck the $10 to $20 range. The best quarterback picks are Richardson for 8, Love for 4, and Jade Daniels for 5. That's flat out just truth.
Or spend for the top 3. That middle tier of quarterbacks is just seems like a big way. Or you get Goff for $1, you get Purdy for $2.
Yes,
I mean T-Law for $2.
Yep.
Herbert for $1. I mean, I would so much rather do that and have money elsewhere than
Lippy got Jade Daniels and Goff for $6. Hunter got Purdy and Love for $6. When these other quarterbacks, like why? It was a
Dak
great,
Prescott for a whole $11 compared to that's
like
kind of sad.
like Curd. I think Richardson for $8. I'd love to just say, oh fuck Curd, he's fucking sucks. Richardson for $8 is a great pick. That's fucking.
Oh,
It is.
I was doing fucking flips. I was you can ask fucking Jonah and Kekel. I couldn't sit still after that. I was fired up. But yeah, but there were a lot of fucking and that's probably my favorite value just because he could face plant, but like I've got all the upside baked into it. Like I mean I've kind of got the upside and floor baked into that pick, so I do like that a lot. Like I thought he would have gone for like 20 to be honest, but I mean like I love the premium picks. I think the Lamar pick, just to give you your flowers, is my favorite because I think that Mahomes and Hurts are fine, but you got the cheaper of those, and I think he could easily be quarterback one.
I love it. I love the pick.
Yeah. So we have a consensus kind of
Still
favorite.
let's go running back.
For twice Richardson's price. I am I'm so mad. I'm so bad.
Yeah. It was tough.
I'm so
tough
mad.
to watch.
I'm so bad.
What about these running backs? I think
Brees for
I feel like they all went for
really
about the right price. I mean, Jacob. I don't.
The right price, I thought. I didn't see like a screaming value with these.
I did. I think I just see what I really didn't like, and it might be my bias. I didn't like the Pollard, and I didn't like the Aaron Jones. Besides that, the rest of the running back prices, good. I mean, is Rashad a little too expensive? Maybe. I mean, Ken Walker for 30, I've got no problem with that. That's a nice pick. I mean, Mixon for 33, sure. With Javante for 12, you have Singletary for 9. Everyone's about the right price. I guess it's just that Najee too. The Najee Jones Pollard picks just don't. That money could be spent and get a different player. I would have done it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. The lesson is get your premium pick, or like, I mean, just be really. I mean, you have to be really mindful in the mid tier. But yeah, Kyron for 56 or for 57. I mean, this was at draft day. I kind of bought into the 80-20 Kyron Williams split, but like, I'm not going to overthink the fucking kick return. I just, it's enough to make me feel like they're not going to give record. This guy.
Kyron for 57 is fine. That's fine. I don't think
so.
It's not
even
great.
With the new
it's
news,
not great, but it's not bad. It's fine. It's fine.
It could be. I'm not going to.
It is what it is.
Yeah. We could be overthinking it. It's just that $60, like to think that you could spend $3 more and just get Saquon and just like say what you want about a new team and tush push. Like Saquon is now in a top 5 offense. Like I would just rather have that. Like just but maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But overall, I'll agree that the running backs I think went for. I think we as a league have finally calibrated the price of running backs. I think that we all still lean towards a premium side of it, but I think we've now appropriately valued where these guys should go, and they did go very, very well across the board. I mean, I don't really know if I have a favorite or a least favorite one. They like all the sleeper ones went for kind of the same price. I mean, Alvin Kamara for 27. I know I'm picking on that one. I actually hate that one probably the most if I had to nitpick it, just because I just don't see upside with my boy Kamara this year. I think that team's going to be out. It wouldn't surprise me if he just like faked an injury and just went off to fucking Miami. Like he's like no one's happy with the Saints right now. Like the last 2 months couldn't have gone worse for us. Like you need Rat Pack to come out and like light the world on fire, and like Carr to go down with the injury for like that team to resurge. But I mean, that's being nitpicky, I guess. I don't know.
I'll say this: I did not love the Jacobs pick on draft day, and now it looks like a brilliant move.
I'll agree with that. No, I mean like all the news with Jacobs last 2 like. This couldn't have been a better week for Lippy buying Jacobs stock. I mean,
it's tough. Ultimately, am I happy I got Jacobs? Would I still be if Jones wasn't hurt? Blah blah blah. Yes, $40 though. Looking at the board, you can see how that money could be spent a little differently, and you'd be very happy. But ultimately, like I was telling Ayyy NF, if Jacobs is healthy all year, I don't see how he's not a top 8 running back.
He's gonna get the fucking rock, man.
If he's healthy, he's a top 8 running back. You pair that with the rest of the squad, I mean, I'd be ecstatic. Just obviously got to pray for health. It's always bigger than football.
It always is.
It is bigger than football. For receivers, do y'all have any that make you very mad or make you very glad?
The Waddle price, the Waddle and the Debo prices just don't work for me.
No, those are not great.
The,
I'm
the-
looking at the big board I pulled up. Those Waddle and Devo in the Excel, they went for wide receiver 9 and 10, and they went for like maybe $20 less than that like super hyper elite tier. I think it's worth spending up to get that elite tier. I mean, I think that those were tough prices. But
they're both.
I love
They're
the top tier.
They're both better picks than Garrett Wilson.
The
CeeDee
whole
Lamb.
middle tier of wide receivers is beautiful. The
Yeah, I think
DK London Olave. You
Yeah.
have Adams there for 23. I mean, Tank even for 21. Smith for 26. That tier right there is beautiful because then right when you get under that, you get the Flowers for 20, which that does not get me going.
No, I agree.
See, I'm kind of down on the Tank for 21 pick because he's on the board right now. He went as wide receiver 23, and that's $2 behind T. Higgins, and it's like, and $2 behind Devontae Adams. I know I just shit on Devontae Adams, but it's like,
I think
I mean-
Devontae Adams went for a great price. I think Hunter did not pay a premium for the name.
he didn't. He went as wide receiver 21 actually on the board, which actually is that's actually per ADP actually pretty fucking.
That's quite
good.
nice.
So,
Yeah.
that's not bad. So I'm not going to dog on that too much. That Devontae Adams, I think I told him actually in Beham that was actually a really clean pick. Tank Dell stood out to me just because. I mean, he be the wide receiver 1 on his team. He could, but like, there's a world where he could be the wide receiver 3, and he's going ahead of like Amari Cooper. I mean, shit. Even like, I'd rather have Calvin Ridley over Tank Dell just because, like, just for volume purposes. Like, I just don't know, dude. Like, he might fucking come out and kick ass, but like,
There's
if
a
Tank
lot
Dell's
of
kicking
mouths. There's a lot of
if
mouths.
Tank Dell's kicking ass, and that means that Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins are also kicking ass, which means Stroud for 16 is probably the steal of the draft. Like, that's the bet you're making.
But it
That would've been a prime
makes
Bevo
it really hard on Schultz, so that pick's gonna age.
It makes Schultz really hard. I think the top wide receivers were beautiful. I think CD, Jamar, Tyreek, and Amon-Ra, compared to the board, I think were
Amazing.
beautifully priced.
Amazing.
Beautifully priced. Great price. I think that we got steals. We got people who could break fantasy by themselves in that. Because I put all those dudes in the same kind of bucket as like, you know, CMC and Bijan and like, you know, those guys that can just single-handedly take over a week. So
I think big pat on the back to K. Cole for Chase, for Dustin getting CD, Tyreek and Amon-Ra. The fact that we got him for those prices when I thought they were going to go for a tremendous amount more, excellent picks. Excellent picks. Because you've got
Terry McLaurin, Lippy went for wide receiver 31 or 32 actually.
Oh, that was a master class.
When I got
Master
Jaden,
class.
like Alexander's eyes lit up for Ramondre just seeing him on the board. I was just staring at Terry, looking at everyone's max bid, just praying. I was ready to bid everything on Terry. I didn't care if I had nothing left for Tyler Allergies or Charbonnet or anybody else.
Oh fuck yeah, no.
I was getting that stack and just gonna figure out the rest from there.
Yeah, that's so good.
That feels like he could just explode.
Absolutely. What is Terry on the wide receiver number, Kern?
He said
he went as wide receiver 31. I guess technically
is
tied for wide receiver 31.
That is insane. So good.
In the same breath, he went for the same price as George Pickens though. And George Pickens is pretty good too, but in the same breath, hear us out, he went for the same price as Chris Godwin.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Which is tough. Tough. You know, I mean
Jesus Christ.
I was just staring at Scary Terry though, just praying. Because when you look at him before in previous seasons, I feel like I was looking at him on like Golly's team as his wide receiver 2. And that made me want to puke.
Jack?
But thinking about him as a wide receiver 4 just sitting in flex, wow. I feel like Kern with a wide receiver in flex.
Jack,
it's a good time.
Jack is gonna load this pod in the airport. He's gonna have some Dippin' Dots in his hand. He's gonna be grinning like, "Oh, let's listen to the pod," and he's gonna go to the Bevo chapter, and then he's gonna start to lose his smile.
You're gonna see steam blow out of the fucking side of the airplane, and you'll hear hooves from Dallas just galloping to the fucking
plastic.
roof.
The plastic spoon in his hand just shatters.
Yeah, I love the fucking look. Like, just to toot our horns, I think Devontae Smith and DK Metcalf. I just love where they went as wide receiver. Like wide receiver between wide receiver. I guess that's actually wide receiver 19 and 20. I think that's beautiful.
Nice.
I think that's a good time. I think that's a great value.
It's such a nice tier of receivers right there.
Yeah,
it is. In this cheaper tier, maybe I'm biased. I just love the dirty, shitty volume I got for $8 combined with that. It's not fucking thrilling, but like when I scroll up a little more and I look at like some of these other like $20 wide receivers that went for, like 15 to like these other $10 to $20 wide receivers, like maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they were probably priced just because I guess like you get to like. Not the dog on Godwin's more, but like compared to Godwin, like I don't know. I'd rather have just both those dudes in a nutshell. Like I mean,
I would
Gigglelad, like
I would
maybe
rather
I don't know.
I would rather have those guys than Godwin for sure.
I don't know about Gigglelad. Like you're kind of betting on the upside. I guess I'd rather have Worthy just for the fucking knockout punch. I don't know.
Let me tell you a fun fact, Kern. It's not that I would rather have both of them. I would rather have either of them instead of Godwin.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can make any case you want. It's and when you look at all the dollar picks, they're all. I mean, you can make a case for any of these. They're all just.
I mean, Jordan Addison, beautiful. Obviously, one of those running backs is going to turn out to be a great pick. But for right now, who I truly think is the best pick, it's Addison easily. For $1, all day.
Yeah,
I don't hate it because it's $1. I mean,
I couldn't believe it because there was still like I still had money. Like I picked Spears after him. Plenty of other people had money. Like I was just like looking at the webcam. I'm trying to like look like why is nobody bidding on this? Because I was ready to spend some money, and everyone's just like, oh fuck that guy.
Yeah, I'm looking at the dollar bids for a wide receiver. He's probably the best one. I liked that Polk pick. I liked that Khalil Shakur pick. I liked my Wicks pick. I'm big on Wicks. I like him a lot. I think. I mean, yeah, the rest of it's kind of just like there's a reason that they're $1, but those stand out. Christian Watson for $2 is like sneaky, just like you just never know. But I mean,
yeah,
problem is that person is relying on Christian Watson weekly.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I don't like the context of it, but like I like the what else? I hate Keon Coleman for $6, but that's just I mean, whatever. I could be dead wrong about that dude, but what about tight ends? I'm looking at this. Let's see. We have tight end 1 was 25. Dalton Kincaid, I paid for every fucking dollar of Kincaid, but I mean, when I think about it, most tight ends in previous years went between like $30 and $40. I guess because you were chasing that Kelsey ceiling, but because Kelsey went for like 40 those years and 50, it brought up like Kittle and Andrews. It brought up all the prices.
Yeah,
so I think
tight end was very cheap this year. Tight end was very
they all
cheap
went for
this year.
They all went for cheap. So like I don't like against the field. I kind of think like, maybe I'd rather have McBride probably for 18 and Andrews for 17, just in a nutshell. But like, I'm personally just love the upside of it. But I mean, so I'm not gonna say that's my favorite pick. I mean, I think.
Well, the issue is when you compare just apples to apples, and you look at Pollard for 17 or McBride for 18. What would you rather have?
Trey McBride for 18.
Every day of the week. I don't even care if my running back 2 shit because of it. I'd rather have McBride.
Yeah.
I mean, you go same thing. Andrews was 17.
Yeah.
Or you just go a little less. Would you rather have Jamison Williams or would you rather have Evan Ingram? Obviously, they're on the same team, but I'd rather have Ingram all day.
Oh, all day. Yeah. No, for sure. It's
I think Golly and I are the only 2 people that really like Jamison Williams.
Yeah, like him, sure, but for 7?
I know.
That's
too much, Golly. That's too much, Golly. But I'm with you. I like to.
7?
He's gonna have a really awesome jet sweep rushing touchdown once every 4 weeks that y'all are just gonna go fucking crazy for, and it's gonna be awesome, and you'll fucking get for that.
Yeah.
That's
imagine how much happier Guy would be with a $2 Watson, a $4 Sutton, and then he'd still have an extra $1 to get a random player, a better player.
Yeah.
Guy would not be so depressed right now.
Brock Bowers at tight end 11. I mean, you're chasing the fucking upside, but like you spend $5 on tight end and you got a floor. And I mean,
I have no complaints. And then that offense
God,
Kellen Moore loves to target the tight end. If that translates, I'll be happy.
Kellen Moore lore is why I love Devontae Smith. Like it's why you should love fucking Goddard. Like the Kellen Moore lore is gonna that's why I love Golly's stack. Like I'm like low key all in on the Eagles this year. Like I think they're gonna fucking have a great time. But I mean, so I'm with that too. I think
and then I there was some I understand the hold back for Saquon for a bunch of people, But at the end of the day, the amount of carries Swift had inside the 10, if
Was
Swift gets that amount
absurd.
of
Was
if
absurd.
Swift gets that, if that just transfers, and
If
who cares about push
Saquon
pushes?
gets that many,
Saquon's scoring 15, 20 touchdowns, and
Yeah.
it's going to be awesome.
yeah, it was
I don't.
absurd.
I gotta bounce, but it was a phenomenal pod.
It was a
Wow.
pleasure
Better
having you,
game.
sir. Pleasure having you.
No, I
First
love
time,
Saquon.
first time a
Saquon,
founder has appeared on the pod.
Saquon is a great price compared to these other prices. Like, would I rather have Saquon or would I save $20 and get Rashad White? Like, I would just rather lean into Saquon. I think Rashad White fucking sucks. Like, I think fucking like would I rather have Saquon or would I rather fucking get Kyron Williams for? I mean, I think that's. I keep going back to that.
choose to operate in a world where people are going to stay healthy, and I'm not just going to say, "Oh, that guy's injury prone." And that Saquon in that offense is just going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
He is so
No,
much
it's a good
better than
pick.
Swift. So much
I
better
was
than
not
Swift.
mad about the Saquon price at all. I thought that was.
Some people hate Saquon, and I just don't see it. I'm a believer.
I mean, I hate Saquon, but I don't hate Saquon for 60, is what I'll say. I thought he was going to go for a lot more than that. I was just waiting for his number to keep going higher, and it kept on not. And then it said, hey, this player belongs to Lippy now for $60. Great pick.
I guess because we kept so many running backs, like I don't know if we've all kept running backs at this rate before, but like I guess like I looked at last year, I had the numbers pulled up. I thought like it was like 3 running backs went for 60, like 5 went for 50, and like 6 went for 40. It was like something like that. But like looking at the board here, like outside
It's
keeper,
because
one
we
went
have
for
one
60.
keeper.
Yeah, 1 went for 60, 1 went for 50. Like
I
2
feel
went
like
for
you guys
40.
were spooked off running backs. A lot of people didn't want to get 2 running backs this year. Like have 2.
No, they want to blow their budgets.
It was.
That's why I looked at fucking you look at the fucking prices. It's like like you look at the people who were kept. It's like
I mean, ETN for 46 is so reasonable though to TLS.
oh, for sure, yeah, no, it's like I mean there's some that stand out that I don't particularly like. Like I don't like Joe Mixon for 33 at RB11. I mean, granted, but the problem it's better to look at the wide receiver list because that's more realistic on actual market value. The RBs are all just keepers. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the top 16 players are all kept. It's like it's hard to kind of. Let me see if I can filter this by keeper or not. Let me see. I think I can do that. Let me see. Fucking filter by.
Next year is going to be fascinating with no keepers.
I don't think any of us know how what's going to even happen. Do you believe ADPs for sleeper? Or we're going to be able to have real market?
No. It's going to come down to what you believe because the sleeper projections won't mean shit.
I mean, they're going to have quarterbacks for 35, 40 again.
I am so fucking excited for next year.
Oh, it's gonna be It's gonna shake. That's gonna be the advantage is how whoever can adapt to the new room.
Yep.
And honestly, I guess like I've had practice. Like we've had practice in the super flex room because that's always a fresh draft, but it's not the same because we're fucking buying quarterbacks, so we really have no idea. Like but that is the reality. Is like players mid tier, like premium players go for a ton, and we all buy them, and so you'll get like a 4th round player for like $6. Like it's crazy. So I think we're gonna see a lot of that. Like we're gonna see people who save money are gonna have very boring teams. I think you need to. If you're gonna save money, do it right. It's gonna be interesting. I don't know.
I'm so excited.
If I had to bet, I would say Jack's gonna have a great team. But after this year, seeing his depth,
you would think because traditional Jack draft strategy
it's Hunter's team.
It would thrive in a 0 keeper environment. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the RBs who were just drafted. I guess you look at it's Saquon for 60, Kyron for 57. Derrick Henry 49, ETN 46, Jacobs 40, Giga White 39, James Cook 35. So
you could have 4 Jordan Loves for Stroud on this board.
Yeah, I guess that's why running backs were so scared off because all the good ones were just kept, and then like it was like, do we want to spend? But like I think there were some good values here at running back. I mean, I think like Josh Jacobs is a pretty fucking good price. I think fucking.
I don't hate really any of these prices except for that lower mid tier guys.
Pollard,
maybe Rashad for 39.
Pollard for 16 is tough.
Yeah, I really dislike starting from Alvin Kamara down. Alvin Kamara, Najee, Monty, Jones, Connor, Swift, Pollard.
Yeah.
That's really the big ones I dislike. White. I think Williams and Stevenson and Jonathan Brooks and Singletary and Ford, they're all going for a lot cheaper, and they all probably went for probably where they should have gone. Like, I think that was probably fair. But people panicked when they didn't have an RB2, and they said, oh, God, I have to have DeAndre Swift and Aaron Jones on my team, and just spent like $20 on him, and I think that was a mistake.
Well, it's getting a little late, and I've got to take the dog
Oh,
for
yeah.
a stroll. So let me. Does anyone want to have any kind of? I'll give everyone a last soapbox stand. Lippy, is there anything you want to say to the people before the year starts? Then we'll pass it over to Kern, and I'll close us out.
I don't know how my mind's going to be able to comprehend Wednesday night football for Christmas this year.
Wow.
And I know those teams are like coming off Saturday games, so it's essentially like a Thursday, but that's going to be the best week ever.
That's a nice
We're talking
week.
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday football that week. It's going to be a great Christmas week. I hope everyone's excited.
Oh, I
Kurt-
can't wait.
Kurt,
Good
any
time.
thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep pumping Monster's fucking Jets. Monstar, for what
Monster,
everyone
he
said,
would not shut the fuck up about your team this weekend. I'm not joking.
the injuries.
I'm not
The
joking.
injury risk. All I'm saying is, looking at this squad, it's the squad where I look at where if things break right, it's so fucking dangerous. And like, Monstar, I'm rooting for you, buddy. I think that you look. I don't want to jinx you. I probably already did, but it would be wild to watch you just come in and start dropping 130 burgers weekly because A-Chain gets more than 100 carries this year while he's averaging 8 yards a carry, and fucking Xavier Worthy actually does lead the league in targets on Mahomes or leads the offense in targets and scores 16 touchdowns. Like, there's just so much that could happen. Like, Amari Cooper is your wide receiver 5. Like, bro, you are set for success. Jerome Ford and Chubb and Blake Corum. Like, if something happens, what if Blake Corum breaks out? What the fuck are we going to do? What are we going to do with Monstar if fucking Etienne's is his RB2. He's got Ford and Corum as his RB3s, just owning backfields for the year, and then Worthy breaks out. We are so fucked. It's endgame. And Andrews, Monstar has the ability this year to wipe the floor. It is truly scary. So Monstar, I'm just going to reiterate that and hope for the best.
All right, I'm gonna close it out. The reason Kern is so hung up on how big Monstar's cock is because deep down, he knows that he fucked up his tier list. He knows that it's not Kern with an elite team. It's old ANF. Here's the thing. I've got this bozo fucking Louisiana po' boy eating motherfucker in my division. I'm going to whoop his ass 3 times. I'm going to whoop Neil's ass 3 times. We've got something real special going on over here. And you can mark your goddamn calendars because next Thursday, Lamar Jackson plays fucking football. And Neil, your ass is on notice. Karen, I get to beat the shit out of you week 3. We're coming. We're fucking here. We've arrived. Let's go, baby. Real quick. We did this at the beginning of the offseason. I want AFC and NFC Super Bowl predictions from y'all. Mine actually has not changed. Just Packers, Texans. Current, who have you got?
Ooh, okay. I think it's going to be. I'm gonna say Kansas City. I just think they're gonna that three-peat. They're gonna win, and they're going to face. NFC. They're going to face.
Say the 49ers.
I want to, but I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say they're going to face. I'll be hot takey. I think that's that Jordan Love and the boys do it, and I think they actually fucking whoop ass, and I think that they.
Wow. Amen.
They get there, but they're going to get stoned by Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
All right, well, here's the deal, Kern. First of all, Mahomes is not winning the AFC West this year. Probably the Chargers, but we don't know who, but it's not going to be Mahomes.
Wow.
And that obviously hurts my Kelsey's going to rest theory. Second thing, Packers are winning the Super Bowl, and they're going to beat the Texans in the Super Bowl. End of story.
Damn. If Texans and Packers play in the Super Bowl, I want to be.
We're gonna be in New Orleans, Kern. The Super Bowl's in New Orleans. We are gonna be in NOLA.
God, I'm gonna be front row seat just watching. Like, I want to fucking do a pod.
Lippy
for
and
that
I
live.
might never talk to each other again,
Well,
depending on the
the
outcome.
the issue is, I don't know if Alexander remembers the last time this happened. The amount of words that Alexander said to dead silence when Jordan Poole hit that shot. Oh, die happy, man, with what happened
Here's
that
the
day.
thing. Here's the thing.
We'll be sitting here doing this.
Here's the thing. I've got 31-1 from Lippy on the Zans winning. If the Texans win,
Oh God, I can't handle
oh
that.
man,
Maybe fucking rambunctious, just fucking trip walk down Bourbon Street and just fucking.
I will be a force. But anyway, it will, you know, it'll be fun for you to watch, Kern, because the Saints will not played football since December. So.
And Kern, I don't know if you know this, but I get to see the Packers beat the Texans in person in Lambeau this year too. So that's going to be lovely.
That's such a great game. You're gonna have such a good fucking
Wow,
time.
we're at the 35 yard line or 30 yard line, like 20 rows up. It's going to be sensational.
Majestic. You're gonna get to
See just Jordan Love just dice up the Texans.
You're gonna get to see the MVP of the league throw for 5 touchdowns against the Packers. I'm truly jealous of you. But that's where we'll stop it for tonight, guys. That was a really good pod, fellas.